All right, hello YouTube. Welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. The book club side of things is now kicking off for 2026. It's I mean it technically is still January, but barely by the skin of our teeth. So let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started with get the podcast side started.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland, to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
All right, hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for our first book club in a good hot minute now, since early December was our last one, and we're in the very waning hours of January of 2026. We kind of said from the get-go of the tail end of last year that we do know we're finishing this book here in the first chunk of the year. So therefore, we're going to be starting book 6 before too long.
Book 5.
Or 5, that's what I meant. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking. You know what we should do is just throw went to the keyhole in the middle here and just push off.
No. We didn't make you wait for your favorite book. We're not making me wait for mine.
So we're chugging along here. At the end of this episode, we're going to be just as a spoiler for the progression. We're going to be 88% through the whole book and 96% through Roland's story at the end of this episode.
Oh, dang.
So we are coming to the very end here. Let's go ahead and hit the intro stuff real quick. First of all, there is no spoiler alert. This is a book club, so we don't spoil anything. We have a spoiler section at the very end, but everything else in the episode is going to be where we're at or before. We don't jump ahead. The spoiler section is probably usually less than 1% of the final bit of the episode, and there is ample warning. So if you've not finished the 7 primary books, you can listen to this full episode and then just hit stop when we get to the spoiler section. And then if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasting. You can stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or you can find us on any traditional podcasting service of your choice. If you want to subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those, we'd appreciate that. And then you can find us over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. This is where you can join us if you want to join us live for the live streams, as well as you can watch all the old live streams going back years now, as well as short content and that kind of fun stuff. So go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications on the YouTube side. Otherwise, the algorithm overlords will destroy us all.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to anyway, but
Probably.
Skynet is probably Google.
Inevitable.
Yeah, at some point, Google, Amazon, and Apple are just going to merge, and that'll be Skynet, 100%. I think that's everyone. Microsoft, although
Microsoft over Apple.
No, I don't know though, because if it's Microsoft, Skynet would probably crash. So that's probably what we want. All right, and then if you want to find the show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. We don't have show notes for the book club episodes, but you can find all the links for all things Dark Tower Palaver over there, as well as if you want to go to darktowerpalaver.com/March Insanity, you can find our hub for all things March Insanity. I think I finally posted something for the upcoming polls. I don't know. That was a little bit ago now but I think there's something on there. Either way, it is your final chance to get your nominations in. You have until till midnight. So I'll of course check it in the morning, and anything that came in over the course of the night will be entered in. And actually, let me just go ahead and jump over real quick and show that bracket thing. So in March Insanity 2026 is our second year where we're doing 2 brackets. On the Dark Tower side, I think it's our 6th annual Dark Tower poll, and we are doing most tragic character. You can define that however you want. And you can explain it in your email for your nominations, or you definitely don't have to. And then on the Stephen King side, the non-Dark Tower side, we started that poll last year. It is only our second poll for this one, and for that one, we're going to go most beloved character, and of course that is non-Dark Tower. So yeah, you got a little number of hours left, basically 10 hours from my clock, but of course, if you happen to get it in beyond midnight and I'm asleep, then first thing in the morning, whatever's in will be in. So there's that. And then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And then if you want to contact us, Peter can let you know the ways to do that. I know I'm throwing everything off by getting out of order here and doing
It's all right.
doing the March Insanity, but we're on the verge. I also think that we teased that we'd have ours, but I kind of forgot about that until very recently, like in the last little bit. So
Sounds like something that we should throw on our shorts.
that's what I'm thinking as a shorts. I mean, you could certainly send me your list and I can throw it into the amalgamator, but if you want to kind of reveal your list on a short, I can do the same thing for mine. And then, next episode will be a roundtable, and on that one, we will unveil we'll unveil the entire bracket, and of course, voting starts on March 1st. So can't wait for that. Let's crown ourselves the most tragic Dark Tower character, which there is a lot of competition in that one.
There's a lot.
And most beloved Stephen King character, dear God, this might be the most prolific one that we've ever done in the history.
Gonna have some heavy hitters.
Yeah, I mean, because Dark Tower, there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of things. A lot of our polls have had a lot of options, but most beloved King characters, like there's 70-something King novels, and generally speaking, you at least have one in every novel that you can love. In other ones, you've got many that you can love.
Yeah.
So, I feel like this is going to be a stout nomination process.
sure.
So, and I can't wait to see the votes. That's going to be fun. All right,
it is.
what do you got?
Best way to reach us, like Todd said, if you want to send us your list, your nominations, send it to our email. It's show@darktowerpalaver.com. And then we also have our social medias. We got Threads and Instagram. It's Dark Tower Palaver, all one word, no spaces. And then check us out on Blue Sky. It's @darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And we're on Twitter. It's @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then we're also on Facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then check out our merchandise, tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver. 2026 is the year of get yourself a hashtag Tad is Terrible sticker, hat, shirt, coffee mug.
So you're saying it's a year of slander?
I don't see slander anywhere, sir. I mean, slander would mean that it's not true, and we have proven over and over again, you are terrible.
I mean, you can see my halo, can't you?
No, there is no halo there. Only horns.
All right, so we are currently jumping back into Wizard and Glass. Like I said, we're in the waning moments of Roland's story in the next couple episodes, and then I believe it's only a few episodes past that for the rest of the book. So we don't have a whole lot of time left. Where we are currently at is part 3, and remember the structure of this book is there's 4 parts. The very beginning, the first and the fourth part are both back in our present day, and then the 2 middle parts, which are the bigger ones, because I think it's like 5 chapters per on the ones on the ends, and the ones in the middle had 10 chapters. So the meteor story is in those 2 middle parts. So we are in chapter 10, so we're in the final chapter of part 3, and part 3 is titled Come Reap, and chapter 10 is also titled, wait, did I type that wrong? Let's see, because I don't know if the chapter end the no or yeah. Oh, I did do. My notes are wrong. So the part 10 is titled Beneath the Demon Moon 2, which I did give some razzing on that because, come on, give me an original title here. We don't need a part 2.
A sequel?
Yeah, we don't need a sequel for a subchapter. But that's the name of the chapter, and then we are currently, where we left off is we finished through the first 6 subchapters, so we're starting at subchapter 7. Peter is going to catch us up because it's been a minute.
It's been a minute since we've done a book club, so right now where we stand is that first off, Susan has been captured by Jonas, given to Reynolds to be returned to Seafront. And
fortunately not, victimized, which was on the table.
Very fortunate that didn't happen. Sheemie was not captured. He was out taking a leak when they captured Susan. He has followed her all the way back to Seafront. Susan is currently being held by Coral
and beaten quite a bit by a number of people.
By Jonas. She
has kept her mouth running.
Yeah,
so
she's dealing out some receipts and getting change back. Unfortunately, is one way of putting it. That's where we stand with that. Rhea was also stripped of the pink ball, the wizard glass, by Jonas, who was then killed by Roland, Cuthbert, and
They had
Alain.
they had a party of like 40. It was the
Mhm.
the advanced party, and yeah,
They had turned around, joined back up, formed the bigger party. That's where Jonas sent Reynolds off with Susan, took the pink ball from Rhea, and basically banished her. And then as they rode off, Roland ambushed them with his quartet, took the pink ball. He has it. He actually went into the pink ball. We saw that last time. Roland making his promise that he will come to the tower.
some of our biggest
everything.
tower reveals of the entire series up to this point
Yep.
was in that pink ball.
Yep.
So
lots there. And then
Sheemie was following.
Sheemie followed Susan back and got back to Seafront.
Yeah,
And Cappy was with him.
yeah,
That's how he got back. So basically that's where we're at. Roland was still in the ball, but when he started yelling and crying out, that's when they decided to pull him out with a
violently.
punch between the eyes, basically. So now Cuthbert and Alain have both punched Roland in the face. So
Yes.
but we do start off Subchapter 7, and it is not with Roland and the boys. It is with Sheemie. So go ahead, Tad.
Yes, indeed. I was also just looking ahead because again we're in the last chapter and we're in Subchapter 7.
Yeah.
I went to the very end and then skipped back. There was 27 subchapters in this one. So yeah.
Oh, boy. We
have-
did not get that far.
No, so we're
We get to 14.
14 in this one. So we take a chunk out of it, but
Yeah.
this is a significantly long chapter. So, yeah. All right. So Subchapter 7. So Sheemie shifted from foot to foot as he was waiting in front of the stairs that led to the kitchen. He was not sure how long Olive had been in the kitchen. Oh yeah, I guess.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
Olive is aware.
Yeah, she and is going to help.
Yeah, 'cause
So-
she scared the living dickens out of poor Sheemie.
Yeah, and it turns out that she's definitely wanting to help Susan.
She
and
knows that
so-
Susan didn't have anything to do with the murder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yes, now that you forgot about that part.
I
So
did forget that part.
he was not sure how long Olive had been in the kitchen, but it felt like forever. And I believe where we left off is she went in and had him wait outside
Yeah.
type thing. So he wanted her to come back more than he wanted, and more than that, he wanted her to bring Susan with her. He had a terrible feeling about this place and this day, because again, I mean, I know we've been covering it for a long time now, but the morning of this same day is when all the murders happen and stuff. So it feels like
Sitco,
and
they
Sitco, so
blew
it's like
up Sitco,
a
yeah.
lot's happened. But Sheemie, with being the superstitious fellow that he is, Seafront is not a happy place for him on a
No.
regular day, let alone being on Reap with Demon
Yeah.
Moon.
Yeah, one of the subchapters that showed Sheemie arriving at Seafront showed it in just complete and utter chaos. Riders going back and forth. Miguel was drunk and didn't know what to do, what was happening and everything.
Yeah.
He fell down drunk, and that's how Sheemie was able to get into Seafront. So it's like the place is just pandemonium. Oh, that I started to go down this road and I
with
forgot.
and with the murders, like I think that's where he's
Yeah.
like the superstitious element
Yes.
of like he's spooked out by the fact that there's like people were murdered in this
Yes.
house less than probably 12 hours ago.
And I started to go down this route, and I got distracted with Rhea getting the pink ball. Rhea, after being banished, went to Cordelia, required revigoration,
Yes.
some substance from her, and took blood from her in not a normal human way, more vampiric way. And then the two of them showed up to the Traveler's Rest, which was ungodly quiet,
Yeah.
and riled them up to where Susan's being held captive and the mob is being turned in her direction.
Yeah.
So it is that no wonder Sheemie has this feeling, right? Like
Yeah.
he doesn't know that there's a mob, gunning for Susan, but
Yeah. But we do.
we do.
And we also know we're reading a Stephen King novel.
That's right.
That's one thing those characters never have the opportunity to find out, but we know you're in a Stephen
Right.
King novel. You should be really careful.
Yes.
So the feeling darkened like the sky, which had blackened by smoke. He wondered what had happened out there, if it had anything to do with the thunderous noises he had heard earlier. He was not sure, but he wanted to get out of here before the sun went down and the real demon moon rose in the sky. One of the doors opened and Olive came hurrying out. She was alone. Olive said that Susan was in the pantry and she had gotten that much out of the guards, but she knew that that was all she was going to get them as soon as they started talking their stupid crunk. And it said there's no more proper way for the dialect of the vaqueros, but crunk worked well enough for the highborn. So it sounds like it's their own kind of language that doesn't
Yeah.
really even have a name in their parlance.
Do you take it as like slang or like more of like a dialect that just doesn't actually exist? It's just kind of like not official, but it's kind of
Yeah,
their thing.
that's kind of what I assume. Probably it's a little bit more like slangier, or like I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's just a unique dialect that's not like
that mission in Red Dead Redemption 2 where you and Javier go up to that house and they're talking all funny.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably a pretty good way to think about it. So she knew them passingly well and knew they could both speak properly, and they were only speaking Crunk to pretend not to understand her. She went along with the deception, but she could have actually spoken Crunk back to them and called them some names their mothers would have never used had she wanted to. So some badass element here from Olive. My first note here, again, Sheemie is paranoid and superstitious like a small child, but then again, in this world, maybe he's more right than we are for poo-pooing him about it. Because we've seen a number of things over the course of this series that we've seen demons, we've heard references of possessed machines,
succubuses,
Yeah.
oracles, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe he's more right than we are, but us living in our world, we tend to look at
hell, a thinny?
yeah,
The fuck's that? Like kind of thing. So.
yeah, no, yeah. So, but for us, like it's just like, oh, come on, man. Like the moon's not. It doesn't inherently make. I mean, then again, I see people in our own world that say that, like, oh, full moon. Like anyone that's in like emergency services and
Yep.
stuff, like so.
ERs, EMTs,
Yeah.
paramedic drivers, all those things. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
My note here: after everything that happened, I would feel the same as Sheemie. Time to be gone from this place before nightfall. Like, get me the fuck out of here.
yeah.
Like, I would want to be gone.
Yeah, and I don't know. I still want a face on our moon.
No,
Once a year that we get a nice demon face on the
No.
moon. That'd be really fun. Especially because it'd be around Halloween.
of course it would, right?
That'd be great.
Like sometime in October.
Yeah. I love it. So I love that he's not really aware of the Sitgo stuff. He is making the connection to the explosions he heard earlier. And it's a good guess, but that's all it is. Like he
wasn't there with them, right?
No.
Wasn't he up on the hill with Susan and watched it explode?
No, because I mean, even here, like all he
Yeah.
knows is he heard thunderous noises, and then he sees the smoke, and he wonders if they're connected. So again, don't underestimate Sheemie because he has actually been able to connect some dots here.
Yeah.
And again, he's kind of like Tom Cullen from The Stand in that sense of like, doubt him at your own peril because he is a lot sharper than you might guess. And then my next note, Olive is a badass and got the information she needed and could have put those vacs in their place if she wanted to, and in their own language. So got to respect that.
Also, she's smart enough not to have done that. She could have burned that branch, that branch right there, and just been like, "Hey, listen, motherfuckers," and then they would have been like, "Oh, she knows what we're saying." But they don't know that she knows that. Like,
Yeah.
she kept that card, so she still has a card to play. So I would say she has the upper hand.
Yeah.
So that's just another level for Olive, is that we haven't spent much time with her, hardly at all. One or two scenes here, that's it.
Yeah.
So really nice to get a little bit more info on her.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I will say that, stepping outside of this whole episode to say that over the course of this episode, we're going to get a lot of impressive things from Olive. She's a badass, and we find that out throughout this section. There's a number of times here. So Olive told Sheemie that she had told them that there were men upstairs and they might be trying to steal the silver, and she wanted them to turn out, and they had still played dumb as though they could not understand her. Sheemie thought about calling them a big couple of sons of bitches, but remained silent. Olive was pacing, occasionally throwing a fiery look at the door. She finally stopped in front of Sheemie. She told him to turn out his pockets, saying, "Let's see what he has for hopes and garlands." He did and produced a pocket knife, a gift from Stanley Ruiz, a half-eaten cookie, and from the other pulled 3 ladyfinger firecrackers, a big banger, and a few sulfur matches. Olive's eyes gleamed, and she told him to listen. So, and that is the end of the subchapter. So my first note, not a bad attempt to clear the guards out. Either they can see it's their duty to stop any would-be thieves, but they also might be tempted to go steal the silver for themselves. Like,
I never thought about that.
That's kind of a double.
Yeah.
That's kind of a double, almost temptation, right? It's like either duty or like not thievery, but like self-interest. Like you're basically double baiting that hook on both sides,
Yeah.
where it's just like take one or the other. Because there is going to be silver, there's going to be money, there's going to be valuables in this place, and there might be people up there, And so even if you go stop them, would you then maybe
you go stop them? But they had already gotten away with most of it. I don't know what happened. It's still gone.
Yeah. So again,
we chased them off, but we couldn't stop them.
yeah. So again, I think that Olive is impressive here. She that's a very clever. I don't think I've ever locked onto that before, but reading through this for this book club, I was like locked in on that mark. You know what? that is double baiting that hook
Yeah.
where like they've got two options, whether and to her too, you also got to remember who she is.
Mhm.
So it's like, in fact, I think my next note, Sheemie thinks about swearing at them but doesn't. I wonder if it's the fact that it's Olive Thorne that he's with that stopped him. And like, because yes, she's not the mayor's wife anymore, but like she still has a place of like honor. And so it's like
authority,
and that's why like I wonder if that's why she double baited that hook for them, because like maybe the fact that she was asking them to go look for the the thieves upstairs, like the duty may have been more from the fact that she's Olive Thorne, and they would have listened to that, right? But then she, the other side of it is though, maybe if you're not going to listen to that, at least you're going to go, ooh, silver. let me go take a look at that.
Yeah. My note here. I also just want to point out maybe he doesn't want to interrupt Olive's rant. She might turn his frustration on him. After all, he does work for Coral.
Yeah.
Which we have seen her snap. I mean, Petty the Trotter goes to pour her a drink and she gets all pissed off at her and everything.
Yeah.
Because it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. It's like,
Yeah.
who the hell wants a thing of whiskey? And she's like, well, I do, but I'm not going to tell her that.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
also-
if I'm on vacation.
Right, but Coral's not. She has to have an image and everything.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, you just made me realize something. Maybe that's why these vaqueros don't actually leave, is because they're more scared of Coral than they are of Olive.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's part of it for sure.
Yeah.
As well as honestly, like she may be playing at the fact that she kind of has some like authority and like an air of like whatever of respectability, but like that is gone too. So
I mean,
that
it was gone a while ago, right?
Well, I mean, but
once Susan became the gilly to the mayor.
But even like the I don't know, not like the pretense of whatever, like like she still was in those rooms and stuff. She may have been at a different table, but it's like she still was the mayor's wife,
Right.
because nothing had happened with Susan yet. So it's like,
but it's even worse now.
yeah, but I wonder though, like maybe she's kind of rolling the dice on like maybe she still has some cachet, but it's like we don't know. But you're probably right. It probably has more to do with like they actually are holding their orders tighter. And they're probably, the fear of God is probably put in them about leaving the door.
The one thing I would say is that we know that Coral put them there. Coral ordered them to guard the door, right?
Yeah.
So that means that Coral either A, trusts them, B, knows them, or C, they worked for Jonas.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
Which means that they're loyal to Coral, which means they're really probably not going to listen to anyone else, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
Unless it's someone who outranks Coral, which
Jonas.
Let's be perfectly honest. Not many of them are left alive.
No,
So-
I mean, yeah, we know that, but like, probably Jonas is about the
Well,
only one that
I was
might be
meaning
able to-
I was meaning like Kimber and the mayor. Like,
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
alone would be like the two figureheads in Seafront that
yeah.
would be able to override Coral.
Or people like Langle, people that
the
are
sheriff,
higher up.
the sheriff, yeah,
Yeah. But all of them are dead, right? Everyone
Yes.
that probably could have actually overridden the orders there, they're all dead.
I just don't think Coral is anywhere on that pecking order, because ever since she became the mayor's castaway, if for lack of a better word, is that she's been replaced by Susan basically. But now that we see that Susan is a criminal and betrayed Seafront and everything, it's just like,
and a murderer.
a murderer. Yeah, Olive has lost all authority whatsoever because now the mayor is also gone. So it's
Yeah.
like she has no power whatsoever over these guys.
Yeah.
And instead of insulting her and doing that, because that used to be the mayor's wife, she used to hold all the power, they're just playing dumb.
Yeah. Which, it's something I've seen in my life a number of times over the years. I mean, here in Utah with I mean, I've seen it more with like, Hispanic folks. I mean, because I feel like Tongans and like Pacific Islanders, like maybe could try, but I think they would never get away with it because most of them like, English is actually more their primary language than their like language from home, because
Their
most
native tongue,
but so like but I have seen like kids in school throughout my life. When I was in school, I've seen even like people in like co-work realms where like they're Hispanic and they would just like pretend they don't speak English when it's like a shitty customer or something that they're having to deal with. Like they just then pretend like whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're probably not going to be working in this realm if you couldn't speak English, but like it's enough to have the person walk away and go bug someone else. So I've definitely seen this experience in my life. So
exactly.
yeah, indeed. All right. So subchapter 8. Oh no, I'm sorry.
You got-
I do
you
have
have one
I have one more note. So I do also love that the knife was a gift from who was likely his father. We know that overall, when we take a step outside of the story and we're looking at it from the outside, we know that like when you go to like the the Dark Tower wiki and any of the books and stuff, it's he's called Sheemie Ruiz. So even like that part of the story almost considers him the son of Stanley Ruiz by the fact they're giving him his last name. But I don't even think Stanley actually full on knew. Right, we were in his head.
There was a line where he's like, I have to try and stop DePape from killing
like he
him.
might be
my kid.
Yeah, he might be my kid. So it shows that even if Stanley doesn't fully know for sure if it's his kid, he's actually accepting and treating him like his son. So that's kind of a cool thing, I think. Just I think it adds to like Stanley's character a little bit, and we haven't seen Stanley for a minute. So it's just kind of a cool little moment there.
Absolutely.
So.
Little world building thing that King throws in there that's just a little thing, but it really does have bigger implications when you actually think about it.
Yeah.
All right, so subchapter 8. Cuthbert patted Roland's face with no result. Reminder, Roland was in the pink ball. They couldn't get him out, so Alain punched him and knocked him out. Patted Roland's face with no result. Alain pushed him aside and knelt next to Roland and took his hands in his own. He wanted to try using the touch in a way that he had been told was possible but never tried. That one could reach another's mind. And then this is the quote from the book. Roland, wake up. Please, we need you. That's Alain using the touch into Roland's mind. At first there was nothing, then Roland stirred, muttered, and pulled his hands out of Alain's. In the moment before Roland opened his eyes, the two other boys were struck by the same fear of what they might see. No eyes, but only raving pink light. But they were Roland's eyes when they opened. Those cool blue shooter's eyes. Roland tried to get to his feet and failed the first time. He held out his hands and they helped him up. As they did, Cuthbert saw something that frightened him. There were threads of white in Roland's hair. He would have sworn that there were none there this morning.
Yeah.
So first note here, Alain using the touch to reach Roland's mind is going to be interesting to see how they do it on screen. There's lots of different ways you use telepathy and psychic stuff and everything like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they play this out.
Yeah.
And then also, I think it's interesting that both Alain and Cuthbert both have the same thought about Roland's eyes, that they're just going to open and just be pink.
Yeah.
Like no eyes, actually, just pink light radiating from it.
Yeah. And speaking of screen, give me a view on their fear. Give me young Roland opening his eyes with pure pink light coming out of them.
And then and then they like blink and it's gone.
It's Flanagan. So,
Yeah.
I think a horror image like that would actually be quite effective.
It would be very jarring for sure.
Also, I'll say, hi, everyone in the chat. David mentioned might be something wrong with the connection. I believe it might be your phone because, everything's looking good on our side. I'm not seeing any issues with the connection.
Mine's looking good on my side as well.
Okay, because on my side, from the host side, there is a thing that shows like the stream health and stuff, and that's showing good. So maybe hit refresh, David, if it's giving you some issues there. And then give me that give me some pink eyes. And there's like some images of that like that I've seen in different horror movies, and I can't think of exactly one off the top of my head, but one where there's like just like light for eyes, and it's just there's something so like uncanny valley about it.
Moon Knight has that, right? With like the white when he's being possessed by Khonshu.
Maybe.
I think that.
But I'm thinking like one where it's almost like the light. It's like almost like beams of light instead of eyes.
Almost like Cyclops kind of thing.
Yeah, but yeah, and there's just something. I think it's uncanny valley about it because like then I don't know. But I know there's some images that are like somewhere in my brain. I just can't put my finger on what they are, but they're definitely fucking terrifying. So if you do something like that, and again, even if it's just like you see like there were like whatever, but then Flanagan plays it off in a way to where you understand like, oh no, that was just their imagination. But like. Yeah. Show it to me, Flanagan. You're a horror guy.
Exactly.
You'll be able to get us something good there.
And then my last.
The deadlights. Yeah, Cody. Good point.
Lights.
I mean, that's definitely more King connected for sure.
Yeah.
Me, I'm just trying to cycle through horror movies in my head, but
that is definitely my last note here. 14 years old is a bit young to be getting white hair.
Yeah, indeed. It reminds me of Nadine after some exposure to Flag in the stand.
Mm-hmm.
There's the one where she has the very whatever dream. I think it's the one at the drive-in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she has like extreme white in her hair. Not entirely, because that's not until he consummates the marriage that it's
it goes full white. No, it's not a dream.
But that's what comes to mind here, where it's like, whatever it is, some kind of trauma that's basically causing it. Although I will say,
I wonder if you would call it trauma or if you maybe want to call it exposure.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen what it's done to Rhea.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Maybe,
Although,
maybe you think of it more like a like radiation kind of poisoning kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a side effect of the exposure to the pink ball.
yeah, no, that's for sure. But yeah, that was my thought is, yeah, and I think King's even done that in different areas as well, where like people have like exposure to some supernatural element and it like affects them physically in some
Yeah.
way. So yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah. So going on, Roland asks how long he was out. Alain tells him not long, maybe 5 minutes. Then he apologizes for hitting Roland. He was worried it was killing him. Roland says that mayhap it was. Then he asks if it's safe. Alain points to the drawstring bag. Roland says good, and it's best if one of them carries it so that he isn't. He pauses and searches for the right word. Tempted, he finishes with a wintry smile, touching the corners of his mouth. He says, let's ride for Hanging Rock. We have unfinished work. Cuthbert calls Roland's name as he's about to mount Rusher. Roland turns around to look at him. Cuthbert hesitated and licked his lips. For a moment, Alain didn't think he would be able to ask. If you don't, I will, Alain thinks. But Bert was able to get the words out. They came out in a rush. What did you see? And then I took a quote. This is the end of the subchapter. This is a quote from Roland. Much, Roland said. I saw much, but most of it is already fading out of my mind, the way dreams do when you wake up. What I do remember, I'll tell you as we ride. You must know because it changes everything. We're going back to Gilead, but not for long. Where after that? Alain asked, mounting. West, in search of the Dark Tower. If we survive today, that is, come on, let's take those tankers. And that's the end of the subchapter.
Yeah, my first note, the fact that Roland kind of lost track of time makes me think of the end of book 1 with the palaver. Like that's, kind of a loss of time as well. And like,
I think of book 2, reshuffle.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too. Yeah,
that's when he's like poisoned and like dying. So
yeah,
it takes a lot for him to lose track of time.
Cody says, mine's horror scenes, a vast database. Yes, that is for sure. I was while I was trying to think about that, I was like, thinking about the fact that was it not last Halloween, but the Halloween before, or that October, when I watched 50 new horror movies I'd never seen before in a month. And then David says King uses that hair turning trick several times in a few different novels. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's effective for sure, because I think it just really like communicates a lot, like that this wasn't just like, just a normal shitty situation, like, because it is going to be something supernatural to actually do that, right? Especially like you said, it's a 14-year-old we're talking about here. We're not talking about, someone that's like because like Nadine is in her like younger 30s, and she did have some gray in her hair, and because like
that's the thing, is that they made the distinction in the stand always to make a point that it's white, not gray. So it's like, I think of like Rogue and X-Men. It's that white in her hair versus gray. Like, you're going gray. It's the salt and pepper. You're getting older. No, this is white. This is like almost unnatural. Like kind of done at a salon kind of thing.
Yeah, but she actually ends up like mentioning it to like Larry, because he kind of looks at when he asks her age and she says like 33 or whatever it is. He kind of looks at her hair and she's like, yeah, it's premature. So like, I don't know, that just to kind of show you a difference of like just premature graying versus like some serious shit's gone down for this person. So yeah. And then David said, Roland, I saw her future. Cuthbert, were you in it? Roland quit grilling me. And you were there.
Was I there? Was I there?
No, I mean, we throw some Wizard of Oz references. There's been plenty of them in this fucking book so far.
I was doing the Robin Williams. Is it me, Jesus? Is it me, Jesus? The Judas.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out some more, Wizard of Oz, because there's been plenty of it in this book so far.
A lot of it.
So, yeah, and I will say that, Wizard and Glass, I remember the first time I saw the title before I ever read the book, I thought, like, Wizard?
Wizard.
So, yeah. Let's see, what else you got? I already did my note.
Oh, right. I just want to point out that Roland didn't ask where the ball was, but if it was safe. He didn't go, hey, where's the ball? He's like, is it safe?
Yeah.
He cares about it already. You
Yeah.
kind of feel with that right there. And then he also obviously makes the the thing about I'm going to be tempted here, you take it, kind of thing.
And I will say that like we've seen it do some pretty dastardly shit with Rhea, obviously over the course of this entire story, but also Jonas. It took him pretty damn hard and fast. And
just a couple times he looked in it after
and
taking
barely
it from
looking
Rhea.
into it.
Yeah.
He wasn't pulled into it like Roland. Like Roland went into it in like a much greater way than we've ever seen before.
even more than Rhea.
So I think from our perspective, we need to look at it where it's like there's some added drama there of the fact of like, you know, what it did to Rhea and what it did to Jonas. Those are like almost more like surface level usages that they were, you know, Rhea's was long exposure of surface level, but it was all surface level. She wasn't pulled in and, you know, spiraled out kind of again, like almost like book 1 where Roland starts to fly through fucking time and space and shit. Like that's what we were kind of seeing there. So like, I don't know. We gotta be a little bit suspicious. Not suspicious of Roland probably, but maybe we should because it's like
keep an eye on him.
Yeah,
that's all. Just
one eye.
Just one eye. Just keep an eye on him.
Do the Bill Skarsgård.
We also got to remember what they talked about with the wizard glass earlier in this book is that people who use it for too long end up going just absolutely mad.
Which is why Farson doesn't have it with him.
Because he's too tempted.
He only brings it when they absolutely need it.
Absolutely needed.
Yeah,
exactly.
and other than that, it's hundreds of miles away. You know,
so it's
carried
like
by someone else.
There is no temptation there then. It's not like he keeps it in the next 10 over and it's like, don't let me see this. Like, keep me from seeing this. You know, it's like I'm going to remove the temptation already. Send it across the fucking continent.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Which that's a good call.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good
This
call.
Farson guy might be pretty intelligent.
Yeah, he's got a brain on him, that's for sure.
And then my last note here, there it is, the start of Roland's quest for the tower. It's right there. Book 4, subchapter 8 right here is where Roland is like, yep, things have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. And then my last note, mustn't forget the tankers after all this has happened, right? Everything that's just happened, it might be easy to forget. Like, we still have these tankers that can, you know, wipe out.
There's a whole bunch of people guarding them, too. Like,
Yeah.
We may not survive this, kind of thing.
Yeah, so.
Because I think Roland even says that, like, if we survive today, that is what he says.
Yeah, indeed. Definitely not something you're used to seeing a 14-year-old talking in those kind of ways, but here we are. All right, so moving over to subchapter 9. So the two Vacs were rolling smokes when they heard bangs from upstairs. They jumped and looked at each other. The tobacco from their partially done smokes fell to the ground. A woman shrieked. The door flew open, and it was the mayor's wife again, but this time with a maid that the Vacs knew. Maria Tomas, the daughter of the old compadre from Piano Ranch. Maria told them that the thieving bastards had set the place on fire and spoke to them in Crunk, telling them to come help. One of the men begins to tell her they have orders to guard, and Maria cuts him off, saying the putina in the pantry, and said that they can explain to Lengyel why they stood by while Seafront burned down around them. Olive chimed in, asking if they were cowards. More bangs from above where Sheemie was lighting the firecrackers and the drapes. The men exchanged a glance and looked back at Maria and told her to watch the door, and she agreed. They bustled out, holding his bolas and the other drawing a knife. So, I do have to say also, I don't remember if I put a note for it. Oh yeah, I did. So I'll wait on it. So Maria coming in clutch to help, another helper here. Maria is the one that woke Susan up in this beginning of this goddamn day.
Get the hell out of here.
That took for fucking ever. That feels like we have, but it feels like a lot's happened since, those. Well, actually, she woke up late. It wasn't even the pre-dawn. The pre-dawn was when everything happened, but she was woken up actually kind of late. It was like 9-10 o'clock.
That was yesterday. The day before Reap was when they were woken, because it was the day of the murders that she was woken.
Oh yeah, so
that
she hasn't even slept since then. So yeah, that's
she slept a little bit at the hut. That's when Jonas found her.
Yeah,
is that I do think it's interesting about knowing Maria. What doesn't the mayor's who doesn't know who the mayor's wife is? But still, it doesn't matter. The maid from Piano Ranch has more of an influence on them.
Yeah,
because they know her.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Like you can know the governor of Utah, but you know me. So if I'm telling you, hey, Tad, trust me, don't go to this place. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Versus like the mayor being like, oh yeah, don't go there. I don't like it. It's like, I'm gonna listen to this guy. I've known him
Yeah.
for longer,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
No,
So it's just kind of interesting that Maria has more of an influence on him.
yeah, no, that's for sure. And I love that Olive throws the coward line at them, once again showing that she's smart. She knows how to play them. She's trying multiple different ways to get at these guys, and now she's kind of attacking their manhood type
Yeah.
thing, right? It's like, what are you, cowards? Like, get up there.
It's a classic thing
So.
to do to the guys, right?
Yeah, or you can go Back to the Future and call him chicken.
Oh.
Wait, do we have? Was there a different name for chicken in this world? I'm trying to remember now.
Well, it's chickens.
Just I don't. Yeah,
Chickens.
have we seen chickens or heard reference to chickens? Like Popkins is sandwiches. We have like Tudor fish. Like there's like some things we've had that are like the same as our world, but they're just different names.
I think
but
there's like a passing line where Susan's like, I came back, I was coming in from feeding the chickens and she started on me or something, like Cordelia.
Yeah.
Something like
chicken's universal.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Then they took the bait, and this is, and then they asked Maria to watch the door. Excellent.
that. Yes.
Yeah. As soon as the ladies heard the footsteps up on the stairs, they crossed the room. Maria threw the bolt and opened the door, and Susan came out at once, looking from one to the other and smiling tentatively. Maria gasped at the sight of Susan's swollen and bloody face, which is why I mentioned that in our recap section, just because I knew that I remembered that part in my section here.
Yep.
So, let's see. I just lost my place here. Oh, there we go. My freaking screen just jumped all the way back up to the previous section. That's why I lost my place. I'm like, what the hell just happened here? So Susan took her hand before she could touch her face and asked if she thought Thorin would still want her now, and then realized who the other rescuer was.
Ooh, awkward. Susan really needs to watch her fucking mouth right now.
Yeah, watch Olive punch her.
Another person punching her.
Oh, that's brutal. She apologized to Olive and began to explain that Roland or Will Dearborn would never, and Olive cut her off saying that she knew it well, but there was no time and they had to go. Olive and Maria led Susan out of the kitchen and towards the storage room on the far side of the lower level and in the dry goods storage room. Olive told them both to wait here and was gone for about 5 minutes, but for Susan and Maria, it felt like an eternity. When she came back, she was wearing a very colorful serape that was much too big for her. It may have even been too big for Hart, but Susan thought, or it may have been Hart's, but Susan thought it may have even been too big for him. Olive actually had to tuck the bottom of it into her jeans to avoid tripping over it. She had 2 more in her arms and told the other 2 to put them on. It was going to be cold, which, again, it's easy to forget also where we're at in the year. This is the waning part of the year. We're to reap here, so this is like Halloween-ish, Thanksgiving time period.
You take all the crops and you prepare for winter.
Yeah. They left down the servants' passageway toward the back courtyard. If they were lucky, Miguel was still unconscious. They would meet up with Sheemie, who was there with their horses. Olive hoped with all of her heart for good luck. She wanted Susan safe away from Hanbury before the sun went down and before the moon rose. So, Maria coming in clutch at the assist. Gotta love that. Again, just helping out a lot here. And then, a reminder that Susan has been roughed up quite a bit this morning.
Yeah, and my note goes along with that. I hope they show this. Not a slap from Jonas and the others. Like what you see a lot of times in TV shows and film is that females get slapped and then their cheek is red for like half a second and then they're fine.
Yeah.
This would be really kind of cool if they, a cut on her cheek, a black eye, something like that, a bruised jaw.
Yeah, or the end of Rocky, all swollen up and shit.
No,
it makes it hard to watch, and that's probably why and I think there's also times where people like action heroes and stuff get hit and they're not going to bruise because it's going to affect how they look the rest of the movie or whatever.
Yeah, because you have to shoot that continuously. You have to make sure that the bruise looks the exact same for all the shots after that.
Yeah,
and everything.
Yeah, and you don't want that sometimes. You don't want John McClane bruised up. You want him to look like a hero. So
yeah, no, exactly. And I just think that it does Susan justice to show just how tough she is. So I kind of hope that they actually do have it. Maybe not necessarily like lasting marks, because you make a good point about the bruising and stuff like that. But maybe we do get some dried blood on her from a cut lip or a bloody nose and stuff like that. Just something that shows that, man, she's been put through the paces in this morning and afternoon.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then Susan revealing Roland's name. Not that it matters much now, but that is a thing not to overlook there. That you just gave it away there.
Yeah, whoops, a slip of the tongue.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There's something I watched where, someone was let in on a secret and the whole time I was just bracing for them to blow it. And that's what this kind of reminds me of. Where it's like, not that it matters at this point. But it is.
We kind of felt that way about Sheemie earlier. It's like
That's what even in this story,
definitely gonna ruin this for
yeah,
him.
yeah. No, that's true. And then good point. Miguel passed out, was passed out, but there's been a lot of commotion. There's a good chance he may not still be passed out because firecrackers and stuff going off. That kind of noise can wake up someone that is passed out drunk. So, and I guess it's not just Sheemie. Olive wants to get Susan out of town before Demon Moon rises as well. So maybe that speaks to the fact that Sheemie is maybe not overly superstitious. Maybe it is the realm of this world that it is probably not thought of as very safe to be out during Demon Moon, especially you had Demon Moon and then everything that's been going on. I feel like that's almost like a force multiplier now where it's like, already like, I guess at the same time on a normal time they would actually be doing like their festival and their fairs and stuff like that, like whatever. Right. So maybe it is only the fact that all this shit's going down that Demon Moon is, and also we actually did find out that it's blood red right now, so maybe that's the thing that's actually freaking everyone out more so than Demon Moon itself. But the fact that it's blood red and it's a blood moon, all the happenings, exactly. So
everyone just wants to be gone by nightfall before the moon rises. They just want to be gone. Everyone does.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's one of those things when it's in a normal year where it's not blood red and there hasn't been a bunch of murders, like when they're all in the fair and stuff, there's like almost a feeling of like safety in numbers. When you have the whole town there doing their games and dances and competitions, like then. It's just like you and it's like that in real life too, right? Like you could be in the creepiest fucking like abandoned warehouse and it's dark, but if you're there with like 30 friends and you're all there like whatever, like you're not scared, but suddenly if they all disappear and you're the only one there, it's a whole different context.
Right. Exactly.
So
all right, so we're going on to subchapter 10 now. Roland tells them that Susan has been taken prisoner and that it was the first thing he saw in the ball. He's telling them this as they ride west towards Hanging Rock. He spoke in such a way that Cuthbert almost reined up. He wasn't the ardent lover of the last few months. It was as if Roland had found a dream to ride through the pink air of the ball, and part of him still rode on it. Or was it riding him? Bert wondered. Alain cried out in disbelief and asked who took her and if she was all right. Roland explained Jonas had taken her. He had hurt her, but not too badly, and she'll live, but he would turn in a second if he thought she was in real danger. So pausing there. So we have a shift in how Roland is acting, and he knows that Susan was taken. So the ball showed him that. He says it's the first thing that he saw. He also saw that she's been beaten up a little bit, but she's going to survive. She's been wounded, but she is going to survive. And if she was in real danger, he would turn around in a second.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, like the change in Roland, especially with this reaction. Especially in light of everything we've seen in this story, right? These two have been, like they are like, this is like first love type stuff. So the fact that it has almost like a switch has been flipped, like, and I think it's kind of interesting. I think the King does this great here where he kind of writes, the reaction of the other two, which both of them have some animosity towards Susan to an extent because like in their mind, she had been distracting him and stuff like that. So like, Cuthbert more so, but Alain has even had the same thing where I don't think Alain is, as, open and jovial towards Susan as whatever. You just know it's like a spectrum, and Alain's down that, whereas Cuthbert's further down it. But so to see both of them reacting in the way that they're reacting, I think does two things. It shows us like one, that just because Roland's not treating it like a big deal, it is still a fucking big deal. And two, it's also a stark contrast to show the fact that how they respond versus how Roland's not responding. If this were our first ever story of Roland, this might be kind of a thing where you're like, what is going on with this character? I mean, we've read 3 other books now, so like we already know who he's going to become, so it's easy for us to just pass by it. But
there's there it is.
Yeah, it's where we start to see the flip to like, the one that, drives Eddie so fucking crazy and stuff because of like the way he is and all that. And, I just think King does a good job here of like, again, with the two having the relationship they have to her, react so aggressively to like that news, and the fact that he's so like nonchalant about it, like I think that's doing double. It's like carrying two things.
It actually goes further than that because it also shows that the scene in the cemetery where they basically mend fences and they mend bridges, and the two of them sit bracketing her like like brothers on a
Yeah.
sister, everything like that. This reinforces that so much because they reacted so vehemently, like, oh my God, why aren't you freaking out right now? Like that kind of thing. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, what's wrong with you? Like.
Yeah.
It's like you finding out some news about something that I'm obsessed with, and then you're like, dude, hey, this happened, and I'm like, yeah, that's okay. And you're like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about right now?
At that point, I would just shoot you because I know you're if you're a body snatched.
Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
and I don't abide body snatchers.
No, we don't. And I think that's just further shows how well King writes characters, because they did turn over a new leaf with her in the cemetery, and they did like kind of bury the hatchet. Now, maybe like what you said, they're down the spectrum a little bit. Cuthbert holds a grudge. We know he holds grudges.
Yeah.
And I bet you he still has a little bit towards her. And Alain, the same. You put us out. You put us in danger. You jeopardized our mission, all that kind of stuff. We still are going to love you like a sister because you're Roland's love and everything, but come on. Like, Roland, what kind of reaction is that, man?
Yeah. And I think exactly. And I think that's the, and I do think that like I would take them at their, at their word and stuff with like the graveyard and stuff. But I do think there would still be like, there would be a difference of how Roland is going to feel versus those two, even with that mended fence. And I think that's what King's doing such a good job of showing us the absolute difference. Because then it's like very stark for us, because like maybe even a reader that's going through this the first time may have already gotten so drawn into the story that they may have already they may have slightly forgotten the Roland that we know from the previous books.
Right.
So this would be a sharp turn where it's like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here?
King does it to us all the time. And spoiler, there's one later in this where it's like, and that was the last time he ever saw the dog again. It's like
classic King.
The classic King. He does it all the time.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's so good at it.
And he tricks you with it sometimes too.
The reason he's so good at it is because he does trick us at everything.
Because like in The Stand, they do that where it's like, he has one of those ending chapters and it makes you think one thing's going to happen and it's something completely different that happens. But the thing is still true.
Right.
But he's such a good writer that he'll be like, hey,
gotcha.
Here, let me
gotcha.
This little treat. Let me dangle this out here for
and
you.
Then smacks you with the other hand.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing. I do want to point out one other thing that you said. Just kind of expand on it as well. You were talking about Roland and Susan being their first love, but we also got to remember this is not like teenager first love. This is also like they believe that they are fucking destined for each other.
Yeah,
and I honestly believe that too. Like they were meant for each other. They're soulmates. They're bound by call, whatever you want to
have
call
a baby
like
on the way.
Exactly. So like there's a ton of stuff on this for Cuthbert and Alain to react more vehemently, like
than Roland
react bigger than Roland. It's a huge thing that I've never really caught before, which is why I love doing these book clubs.
And I think if like, if the Mazzara series had gone forward and we got to this before we ever got to Grown Up Roland, this would have been like a very interesting scene to play out. Again, I'm not even necessarily saying that I totally agree that was the right way to go about it. But in that circumstance, again, where if you experience this part of the story first, that would have been a very interesting thing. Where like almost like almost like Breaking Bad, where you see like Walt like over the course of the show kind of turning, more evil and like whatever. It's like this would have been that moment where you'd been like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Whereas anyone that had read the entire series would have been watching that first season going, here we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a lot different when you're watching Better Call Saul and you have flashbacks and you're like, hey, I know that character, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Versus if Better Call Saul came out first, you're like, I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
So it's a lot different that way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So going on here. Ahead of them, Cuthbert saw the sun hitting off the tankers, and men kept appearing and disappearing in the dust around Hanging Rock. A lot of men. A lot of horses as well. He patted his own mount's neck and glanced to make sure Alain still had Lango's machine gun. He did. Cuthbert then reached into the small of his back and touched the slingshot and the ammunition bag, which now contained a number of big bangers that Sheemie had stolen. Cuthbert thinks that Roland is using every ounce of his will to keep from going for Susan. So I guess there's that, at least that Cuthbert believes that.
Yeah, but I don't know if we had any notes on this, but do you think that that's a true thing?
For Roland?
Or is that just Cuthbert's interpretation that is maybe not right? Again, knowing the Roland that we're going to know in the future with the books we've already read, are we just in a spot where Roland is completely actually like, the obsession has started and we've seen it. He dropped Jake. Like there's things that have happened. There's things that like he has forsaken like we get a sense of it from the earlier books where it's like everyone you've ever cared for, you'd sacrifice for your tower, and Eddie calls him out on it. He's like, you'll sacrifice us for your tower, and Roland doesn't deny it. So it's like, is Cuthbert almost like as that friend thing where it's like you almost want to like think the best of your best friend type thing? Is that Cuthbert where he's actually kind of like looping, or almost projecting a certain thing onto Roland that from our perspective as ones that know the future, maybe Roland doesn't actually, Roland's not even struggling with it.
It might be. I'm gonna save my answer for the spoiler section.
Yeah, it's just a thought I had, and I don't know if I even caught it while we were prepping.
Sure.
But as you're reading that, though, I'm like, you know what? It's easy to think, and easy for us to maybe even just go along with Cuthbert and go, yeah, no, you're right. But at the same time, it's like we know
but we know him.
Yeah, we know Roland, and it's like the going into the pink ball. Like if we're kind of like of the thought that may be the thing that really sparked the Roland that we're gonna now.
That's
like,
what I said in my last subchapter.
Yes.
This is the start of his quest.
So, like, if that's the fact, like, he may not actually be thinking about Susan that much at all. It may have been a passing thing of like,
Sure.
oh, she's safe, and then let's move on. We got more important things. I don't know. It's just an interesting.
We'll revisit this in the spoiler section.
Yeah.
So he found this realization. This is Alain talking, by the way. He found this realization comforting, but sometimes Roland scared him. Doesn't he scare everyone? There was something inside him that was beyond steel, something like madness. You were glad to have it on your side, but oftentimes you wished it wasn't there at all. I love that. That is a classic character trait.
Yeah.
In all fiction, it's like, fuck, I'm glad he's on our side.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And just a slight correction. This is a Cuthbert point of view.
Oh, I said Alain.
You said
didn't I?
Alain,
Yep,
yeah.
Sorry.
But yes, no, yeah.
That's because another subchapter I do later is like entirely from Alain's perspective, which is so weird that we get only him.
Yeah. But yeah, like you're definitely right with that. All throughout fiction, you get those kind of characters that are, and even in real life, sometimes they're just like, we're glad this guy's on our side.
Oh, thank God.
You think of like Spears and Band of Brothers.
Yes.
It's like there's that kind of thing where it's just like, yeah, I'm glad I'm not on the other side of the foxhole from that guy.
I'm glad. Thank you.
A lot of people around the tanker, so this might be far more difficult than the last batch that they took from behind.
Yes, they are not going to surprise them.
Yeah.
Well, not in the same way.
Yeah, not exactly. You're not going to be able to do it in the same way where you've got, a group of 40 people that are riding through a freaking, field that you're able to like kind of ride up through the back of them.
Remember, they get them in the open desert. That's where they ambush them once they get out of the bad grass.
Yeah, but they get in, they infiltrate in as they're going through the grass, isn't it? And
no, it's once they get to the desert that's where they attack.
That's when they attack.
Yeah,
but when do they actually don't they kind of get into?
They wait for them to pass in the bad grass. That's where they're hiding, and then they get on their back trail. And then once they get into the open, because they're not going to shoot through. They're not going to.
No. Yeah, I was for some reason I had in my mind that they infiltrated the actual group and then waited till they hit the clearing to start taking them out.
No, because they were behind them. They didn't infiltrate into the group. They came up and just started taking out the back riders, the drogue riders, one by one, 2s and 3s.
Yeah, this is going to be different because now you're talking.
You're not. They're not going in one direction.
Yeah, and if anything, they're probably a little bit fortified-ish in the sense of like they're going to be looking outwards to anyone that might be trying.
And also Sitgo put them on guard.
Yes, 100%. And now the value of these tankers has gone up exponentially because
quite a bit.
You've destroyed the hose, so the buckets of water you have is all you've got for the rest of time and eternity. So.
Yeah. And then my note here: it should be reassuring that they have the machine gun. But the way they talked about guns and about it specifically does not make me confident that it's even going to work. The way they talk about guns.
No, it did shoot though in their battle. Because he started to shoot and like it didn't hit anything. It like shot.
No, he got
it
caught on his strap, so he didn't even get a shot off.
I thought he shot some rounds out of it.
Maybe he did as he was falling.
Yeah,
that it came free. And
because it mentioned that like it wasn't even close to hitting anyone. It was basically just shooting up in the air. So it's like we know it works, but in this world. Yeah, it's not a gun-rich environment.
It's not even a for sure thing that it's going to shoot this time, just because it shot last time.
Hey,
this
isn't book 2 now.
That's true. The thought by Cuthbert is haunting about Roland. Just the way he thinks about Roland there is just like the madness and everything. That is haunting.
Yeah,
that's his best friend, for God's sake.
Yeah. But then again, what would that look like to go from having kind of a normal best friend, even though he's a gunslinger, to the Roland that we're going to eventually get to know? Like,
true.
If if Cuthbert is alive to see all that, which it seems like we're seeing the beginning of it now, and we don't know how long that took, right? Because we get the sense that Roland's been going for a very long time, and who knows, maybe a lot of his full-on solidification of who we saw in book 1 came much later after everything. We don't know, but it sure seems like we're seeing the beginning of it now. But if he were to see it, though, that's kind of an interesting thing for a best friend to have to watch your best friend transform into. And then my note, and no one on the planet knows Roland better than him. So for him to have that thought is wild.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because it's like,
who knows him better than the guy who grew up with him?
Yeah, like, and there's going to be a familiarity there that's beyond what court would know. Like, a teacher knows students to a certain extent. The parents are going to know the kids to a certain extent. But like a best friend, that's beyond the pale of what parents or teachers or whoever knows.
All
right?
the stuff that just an example of like what friends experience versus what like parents, teachers, and other adults like that is like, look at what happened with Roland and Cuthbert involving hacks.
Yeah.
Like, his dad was involved with that, but who's the one that went with him to spread the breadcrumbs at Hax's feet?
Yeah.
Who's the one that had to go to his father and tell him what they heard and everything like that? It's Cuthbert. That's who's there. Is like who's there through those kinds of things.
Yeah.
When you're having girl trouble, you didn't go talk to your mom or dad usually. You would go talk to your friends.
Unless the dad kicks the door in when you're with your prostitute. your first.
That's not real girl problems. That's a horror, right? You know?
Very awkward moment too.
David says Alain is pretty tough considering it's said that he got shot in the mouth at the Jonas fight from the last chapter. He got grazed on the cheek, if I remember right.
It was the only hit that anyone.
That's the only hit that they suffered.
Yeah. So
all three of these guys we know are tough. I mean, come on, they put up with court for God's sake.
That's true, but I do think that Alain is probably the best student, so he's probably had the least amount of abuse of all of them.
The
right?
better students have had less physical torment done to them. By
yes,
court.
versus.
Do you really think court's going to spare him though?
I mean, okay.
I could see Court being the kind of guy who's like, what's 2 + 2, Alain? He raises his hand. 4. Bam! Quit being such a smart ass. You know?
I mean, maybe.
He's got to toughen him up the same, right?
Yeah, I think he'll get, all of them are going to get toughened up, but you're going to tell me you don't think that Cuthbert had like 10 times the abuse that...
Oh, God. No, you got a point there.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. He got Cuthbert when he was teaching Roland because he saw him in Roland's eyes. I saw you in this maggot's eyes.
It's one of my favorite things. I don't know how they're going to do that in the series, though, because I have never seen like a shot on film or TV where there's doing a reflection in the eyes that actually looks good. It always looks shitty because you don't truly see that much in a reflection of an eye, so it always just looks like almost comedic. There's like some comedies that do it, and it's like, I think they can get away with it because it usually looks fucking silly. That's
I
all
wonder
I'm
if it's not going to be like the physical
you don't
eye.
You don't see it.
It's the expression on Roland's face is more. I wonder if that's more how they're going to play it. It's like,
or
Roland makes the.
I mean, I think you could have like Court see it in his eyes, but just don't show us the audience.
Yeah.
Just maybe have it be from like over Roland's shoulder,
right.
And like maybe even just like back punches fucking Cuthbert in the mouth.
Just no look,
and then
no scope.
Yeah,
Bam.
exactly. And then turns around and then tells him, just don't show it to me because I've just never seen it done right. And even in the modern day when they're using CG and shit, like every time they do it, it always just not a fan.
Yeah.
But yeah.
David says, it was a graze, but still. No, absolutely. All three of these kids are tough. I'm not taking anything away from Alain.
And Alain put in a good punch there, too.
Knocked Roland out. I'm sure the ball gets an assist there, though. Like
assist to the pink ball.
Yes. So going on, Alain asked where Susan is. Roland explains she is at Seafront in a pantry, or she was. It is confusing because sometimes the ball shows the future. And then Roland says, this is a quote from the book, quote, "The ball sees far, but sometimes it sees more. Sometimes it sees a future that is already happening," end quote there. Alain asks, how can the future already be happening? Roland says he doesn't know.
I feel like anytime in this fucking story, like when it comes to time, it's just like, don't try to figure it out.
Oh, no.
You're going to go cross-eyed because like...
Oh, no, I've got cross-eyed.
Everything in this story from like the very beginning book, like time in this fucking world is weird. And like, that's one of its charms, but like, that is confusing, but at the same time, like
very confusing.
It feels like it's on par for this story.
That's actually my first note here. Well, I'll just read that now because we're talking about it. See the future that is already happening. That isn't confusing or anything. Like, what the hell does that even mean?
But it's on par for this world though, because this whole fucking story has been like
par for the course.
What are we doing here?
Yep. He says he doesn't. Roland says he doesn't think it was always this way. It has more to do with the world, not the rainbow. Time is strange now. He says they know that and talk about it all the time. How time slips, like there is a thinny everywhere breaking things down. But Susan is safe. He knows that, and that is enough for him. Sheemie is going to help her, or already has. Jonas missed Sheemie somehow, and he followed her all the way back to Seafront. Alain says, good for Sheemie. And then he asks, well, what about them? Did Roland see their future? Kind of deja vu back to, who was it, David in the chat that asked,
Yeah.
did you see us, Roland? Roland said he didn't. That part went by too fast. He did catch a glimpse of fire on the horizon before it flew him away. So maybe it was the burning tankers or the fire at Eyebolt Canyon or both. Roland says he thinks they are going to succeed. So I already read my first note, so it's your note here.
Yeah, just the time of this world. So Roland seeing the pantry and Sheemie, that has to give him a lot of comfort.
Yeah.
You know, to see those aspects of it. You know, because we've kind of seen everything that's going on there.
Right.
But also this whole like time and future thing kind of reminds me of Welcome to Derry a little bit.
It does. Yeah.
That's very fresh in our minds. So.
It is. So my last note here. Roland thinks they succeed, but do they do so unscathed? That's
and that's where like my note is the ball is treacherous.
maybe
and
that's why it flew past him so fast.
Yeah, there is that, and like there's a few things a little bit in the future of this episode that I've got some questions where it's like we've seen what this ball has done, and I think we've kind of been given the word that it doesn't. Or have we been given the word that it can't lie, but that it will show you that like selectively show you the truths to like kind of deceive you.
I think I don't know if that's 100% confirmed. I think you have that hypothesis an episode or two ago, like November, October. I think you had that hypothesis, and then we talked about it for a little bit. Where has it ever shown a lie? We can't confirm because we don't know everything with everything that it's shown. But does it always show like the full truth, or is it showing like half truths to make you assume things?
Yeah, like
and everything.
Exactly. Like, and then that's like, and I think there was a chapter with Rhea where she basically said like it only ever really shows like the worst parts. Like,
yes,
it never shows like the guy helping his kid that fell down. It's going to show the lady licking the corners in her.
Right.
Like it's so it has a malice to it. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things that's like, yeah, I don't think that, and I think that at least she posits, I believe, or someone posits that it can't really lie.
Right.
But it is going to be very selective about what it shows you. And again, I think that's something that's very common in like pop culture and stuff.
Because you show it these three things, it's going to lead you down this way to make that assumption. But if it showed you all 7 things, those 4 plus those 3 are going to lead you down a different road to make a different assumption.
Yeah, exactly. So all I'm saying is I'm side-eyeing this fucking ball because...
Dude, we know not to trust this ball.
Yeah.
This ball's evil.
It is.
Just like all things pink.
It's a good color, pink.
Tad's favorite color. So going on, Cuthbert was looking at his old friend in a queerly distraught way. The man who was so deeply in love that Bert had to knock him into the dust of the courtyard to wake him up to his responsibilities was gone. What had changed him to give him those disturbing strands of white hair? Cuthbert asked if they survive what's ahead, she'll meet us on the road, won't she, Roland? He saw pain on Roland's face and understood. The lover was there, but the ball had taken his joy and left only grief. That and some new purpose. Cuthbert felt that very well. A purpose that had yet to be started. Roland says he doesn't know if Susan will meet them. He almost hopes she won't because they can never be as they were. What? Cried Cuthbert at the same time, and this time he did rein up. Roland looked at him calmly enough, but there were tears in his eyes. And then I had to quote this directly from the book. This is just so good. We are fools of caw, the gunslinger said. Caw like a wind, Susan calls it. He looked first at Cuthbert on his left and then Alain on his right. The tower is our caw, mine especially. But it isn't hers, nor she mine. No more is John Farson our caw. We're not going toward his men to defeat him, but only because they are in our way. He raised his hands, then dropped them again, as if to say, what more do you need me to tell you?
And one thing I'll say there that it only just sparked now is, was it Lud when like there was like some fear and it's like, well, maybe if it's dangerous, you go around, and Roland's like, no, you don't do that. You just go straight through.
We got to keep going forward.
And it's like, yeah, whenever there's shit in your way, you just keep going straight through. And suddenly that just hit me where it's like, that came back to me as you're reading that, where it's like, it's a very similar thing there. It's like, I don't give a fuck. He's almost saying, I don't give a fuck about Farce and that. I don't really care about him anymore. These people are just, they're just in our way. Which is kind of interesting because now it's like the whole mission is actually transformed. Like he's not even caring as much about, you know.
It's like, let's get this done, but I have something else to do.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting.
And my note here, what a change in role in this is. Cuthbert said it from the boy so in love he was ignoring his duties to this. Like that is such a glaring difference in a character there.
And the fact that the hair comes back too, it reminds me of Harold when he sees the hair after the drive-in thing. You know, that's when he starts to doubt, where it's like, maybe I don't want to see Flag at this point. If in a dream he showed you, if he did this to you through a dream, do I actually want to be in the same fucking room as that guy? So like, this almost feels, again, it feels very echoey of like The Stand a little bit, where, you know, that's still making Cuthbert nervous of the hair thing, right? So
David in the chat gave a really good example of the ball. The ball might show the plane heading toward the Pentagon on September 11th while holding back the planes in New York. So it makes you think that the tragedy is not as bad without actually lying. Exactly. Yeah. That's a great way.
I would even take one spin and say it would show the Pennsylvania one.
Yeah, because that one just looks like it just went down in a field.
So then it's just
it's not even like hitting a building.
It looks like
that's a tragedy. The plane crashed.
It's an aviation disaster, which is tragedy for sure.
Yeah.
But if it's not showing you the rest of it.
But if it's showing it to you as a future thing, it's like, well, there's not really much I can do, and it's just a plane crash, you know, like there's nothing I really need to do. And then you get to September 11th and you find out, oh my God, it's so much worse than it showed me.
Yeah. The ball, indeed. It is not to be trusted. But
no.
Just like, you know, they are in a lot of fantasy things. Whenever you have like seeing stone type things, there's usually some like negative element to them. Like
I'm going to write a story where they're positive and only good things happen because of them, and everyone trusts them completely.
You know what I want? And this is like, and it's a complete tangent. But
okay.
When are we going to get to a point when we get to a zombie movie that people know what the fuck zombies are?
That would be very interesting.
Because people know what vampires are.
Yeah.
And they've known for there's stories for 100 years where people just understand inherently, well, no, vampires are fictional, but they know what they are. They know the rules. And
then they start following the rules.
At what point are we going to jump past this idea that every fucking zombie thing ever is the first thing ever, and that nobody has there's never been a zombie movie in the world of any zombie movie that's ever existed? It's like, okay, we've been doing zombie movies for 60-something years now.
Yep.
It's time to start getting it to where people actually know what they fucking are.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a complete tangent, but it's a weird thing once I finally notice that we've never had that, I'm like, and now it bothers me, where I'm like, come on, man.
It's very funny that you bring this up, because literally last night and today, just last night, my wife and I watched the 4 episodes of Marvel Zombies.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like kind of interesting that we're talking about zombies.
Yeah. So my note, he sees it as the ball took all the joy and left only grief. That sounds like what exactly what the ball might do. So how much of Roland that we know from the previous books is because of this exchange?
Oh my gosh, right?
Because like we have kind of just always looked at it where it's like, oh well, some shit happened to Roland that, you know, kind of, you know, because it was pretty shocking for us when we started this story to see this young Roland, see like how, I mean, even going back to book 1, those flashbacks there, like none of that looked like the Roland that we knew up to that point. So it's like every time we've seen young Roland, it's been very tough to like kind of like whatever. And it's like, yeah, maybe it isn't just like a hard life and the fact that your world was destroyed, but maybe this is the thing that is what flipped Roland from 14-year-old lover boy Roland to tall slaughtering Roland that lets Jake fall. Like, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thought of like, you know, again, we know his mission and everything, but ultimately if his mission started here, was that the ball that made Roland.
Yeah, it's, you know, and that's actually where my note goes into, is this last bit from Roland has so much in it. He says the tower is our Ka, but especially his, because he's talking about Alain and Cuthbert. The 3 of them, not Susan. Those 3 have a Ka, and it is the tower, but especially Roland's Ka.
Yeah.
It isn't Susan and that John Farson is just in their way. We already talked about that. I wonder if Roland is including them by his own choice, or did the ball not show him that he was going to be going at this alone? This is kind of what we were talking about, and then also with David's great example. This could be another way that the ball is leaving things out.
Yeah.
Hey, this is your mission. You have to save the Dark Tower. You and your friends have to get there. You both have to start on this. You have to all head towards the Dark Tower, and you have to get there. But the ball purposely doesn't show him that Cuthbert and Alain aren't going to be there for that journey.
Yeah, I think the other thing I could throw a wrinkle at that could potentially be it as well is the fact of like their birthright.
Right.
Is it now that he understands that like this is what gunslingers are about, is the Dark Tower.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, and that's where Susan is kind of left out, because it's like, you're not one of us.
Right.
Like, you know,
We very clearly know that she is not a gunslinger after how she acted in the sheriff's office.
Yeah, exactly. So versus like these other boys, like and like what I think what Roland's seeing now, we're gonna get to it later in this section, or
Yes.
in this episode.
It's literally the next section of the subchapter.
And it's like, it's the whole idea that like that is like the larger mission, and it's kind of been hidden from these boys and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, if that's the larger mission, maybe that's what it gets to, where it's like that's the separation of like whatever. Plus, you can't help but think of like, you know, it's almost Green Goblin-ish, where it's like, well, you either get the girl or you get the Dark Tower. Like,
yeah, which one?
And it's that binary choice or whatever. So maybe that's where he sees it easily, to where it's just like, no, it's for me, it's either Susan or the Tower. And
That's literally what's in this. Yeah,
yeah. So that's just how I'm like piecing it in my head, where it's like, that's, you know, maybe he's only including them in the sense of, you guys are gunslingers. We've been raised in like the court of Gilead.
So
like,
again,
your mission is
right.
Our mission is this. Like,
Yeah.
and it's always has been.
but it also could be a thing where he's just assuming that because of like what you're saying. It's our mission. We're gunslingers. It's our mission. But the ball didn't show him that
yeah,
if he chooses this, you're going alone and they're going to fucking die.
yeah,
Because I wonder how much that would weigh on Roland's conscience. You know, like, hey, if you choose this path, not only are you going to be sacrificing your life with Susan and everything, but you're also going to be sacrificing the lives of Alain and Cuthbert and everyone else that you love.
yeah.
I would definitely believe that the ball exempted that from its slideshow of, you know, its little movie that it showed Roland.
Probably,
You know?
but at the same time, if we go back and look at our future Roland in this sense, but the past Roland from the first 3 books, I don't know if Roland would have cared. That Roland. Now, I'm not saying that that's this Roland now.
That's not this Roland.
But
yeah.
I'm just saying that the Roland we see later,
Yeah, Roland in book 3 obviously is different than the Roland here, though. That's
no,
what I'm saying.
I know. I'm just, but then again, we just had this ball moment, so it's like,
I wonder.
Are we on the?
I know, right? You have to wonder how much did it actually show it.
Yeah, are we on the path of like? Have we seen basically the genesis of
Terminator Roland?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now it'll take some time. It's not like I don't think he's an immediately like it's a complete light switch and he's 100% robotic.
No,
but I do think that he's on his path now.
right.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
So let's finish up this subchapter because we're talking about it. Cuthbert says there is no tower. He doesn't know what the ball showed him, but the tower is just a symbol, like Arthur's cup or the cross of the man Jesus, but not a real building. Roland interrupts him and says, yes, it's real. They looked at him uncertainly, and Roland saw doubt on their faces. Roland says it is real, and their fathers know. Beyond the Dark Line, he can't remember the name. It's one of the things he lost, but in the end world stands the Dark Tower. Its existence is the secret of their father's keep, what holds them together as their quartet across all the years of the world's decline. When they return to Gilead, if they return, he will tell them what he has seen, and they will confirm what Roland says. Alain asks if he saw that in the glass, and Roland says he saw much. Not really answering the question, kind of dodging around it. Cuthbert says,
very lawyerly of him.
Yes. I object. Sustained. Cuthbert says, but not Susan Delgado. Because Roland said he saw much in the ball. Cuthbert says, but not Susan Delgado. Roland says no. And when they finish with the men, with the tankers, her part in their quartet ends. Inside the ball, he was given a choice. Susan and the life with her as her husband and father of the child she now carries, or the tower. He wipes his face with a shaking hand. I would choose Susan in an instant if not for one thing. The tower is crumbling, and if it falls, then everything we know will be swept away. There will be chaos beyond all our imaginations. We must go, and we will go. Above his unlined cheeks were the ancient killer's eyes that Eddie Dean would first glimpse in the mirror of an airliner's bathroom. But now they swam with childish tears. There was nothing childish in his voice, however. Another quote directly from the book to finish out the subchapter. Quote, I choose the tower. I must. Let her live a good life and long with someone else. She will, in time. As for me, I choose the tower. That's the end of the subchapter there. Again, I'm drawn to how much Roland is saying the tower is their destiny and that they're all meant to go there. Not just him.
Yeah.
It really makes me think that the ball has him tricked, that it's like, yes, the three of you have to head for the tower. You definitely need to go towards the tower. Not that you three will reach the tower, not you three will conquer the tower, not you three will save the tower, but you three need to head that way.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Very Lord of the Rings-ish too, Oh, the 9 of us, we're going to go to the Mountain Doom.
Yeah, all 9 of us will go there.
Yes.
None of us will fall.
None of us will fall, and won't be fragmented a couple of different ways.
I'll be just fine singing songs.
What, three different ways? 4 if you count Gandalf. When the split happens,
Gandalf takes Pippin and goes this way.
No, I mean, but even
Merry goes that way.
At the end of the first movie, you got Sam and Frodo one way, Gimli and Aragorn one way, the Hobbits another way, and then Gandalf a 4th way. So it's like, yeah, that splits 4 ways.
You forgot Legolas, sir. I mean, let's not forget the elf.
No, I'll forget it now. I hate elves. they're the worst. I'm glad they're all gone and leaving the damn place. They're the worst.
David asked, I wonder if Roland has a middle name. The Betrayer.
Steven would probably. I mean, we would assume from our world that it'd probably be taking his dad's.
Roland to Stephen to Shane.
Yeah, I'm not sure if. Yeah,
no, because they do the. I don't know if they would do that because they do
son
Roland, son of Stephen.
Yeah, so I don't know. Probably not then.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe they don't do middle names.
Yeah,
because that's kind of our way of getting rid of that whole title thing, right? Is it's like like Roland, son of Stephen, became Roland Stephen to Shane. In our world, that's how he would be named.
I think so.
Oh, interesting. I never thought about that.
I always just thought it was husband and wife fighting because they both want to name the kid after whatever both their grandpas. So you just split the difference. And
it's like a thing, especially like here in Utah, especially. Well, I've seen it everywhere. Honestly, is the oldest son gets the dad's middle name. The dad's first name is his middle name. So like I have my dad's first name is my middle name. So
yeah.
Actually,
unless they do the juniors,
because that's different when you do a junior and then the third and the fourth and all that. Kind of
stuff. I think my my uncle, I think they are down to the 4th now.
Yeah,
and I remember asking my grandpa before he passed away. I'm like, do you ever think that when you named your kid this that there'd be freaking 4 generations and it'll probably keep going beyond that? Like that's now a thing. And my grandma's like, no, we just picked a name.
Apparently people like it.
Yeah. And my note again, though the ball is deceptive. So the idea that the tower and all of existence is at risk is something that we should challenge. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Roland is taking a lot at face value here. And I don't know. I'm suspicious.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep my eye on that fucking deceptive ball.
Yeah, we're not going to take everything it says as 100% truth. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And then my last note here's the change. Roland, the boy and lover, to Roland that Eddie and the others know. He chose the tower over his love.
Yeah.
It didn't happen at the end of the book. It didn't happen at the end of his story. It happens here before he even battles the tankers.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my note, and so the beginning of Roland, we know that would let Jake drop and did not deny it when Eddie told him that he knew he would sacrifice all of them for his tower. Like that Roland, the one that we've gotten to know, this is ultimately this is the big bang.
This is the nexus.
This is that big bang of that moment that will create that Roland that we all know and love, right?
I would have got that trivia question wrong.
What's that?
Where's Roland start the quest for the tower? I would have got it wrong.
Yeah.
I would not have remembered this without these book clubs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. Jumping over to Subchapter 11, going back, because it's funny, we just keep alternating our chapters.
We're just going back and forth.
Just keep going back and forth. So Subchapter 11, Susan mounted pylon, which Sheemie rushed to get to the rear courtyard after setting the drapes on fire. Olive rode one of the barony geldings with Sheemie riding behind her and holding Cappy's lead. Maria opened the back gate and wished them luck as they rode out. The sun was westering and the wind had cleared the air of the smoke. Whatever had happened in the desert, it was over now or happening on some other layer of the same present time. So that's
Wait, hold on. Back up. Couple subchapters ago, you were talking about Sheemie hearing explosions, and I'm like, he knows about Sitco. What if it's not Sitco that he's hearing? What if it's the desert, the tankers?
It said this.
What if we're off a little bit?
It said this morning though, when it said with Sheemie, it said
no. It said earlier.
I'm pretty sure. I thought it said morning. So yeah. And so Susan thought,
I don't think our timelines are matching up here. I think Roland is ahead of this. I think Roland and Alain and Cuthbert are a little bit ahead of Susan and Sheemie and Olive right here.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I don't think in the
I don't think it's one
in
to
the
one.
in the Roland chapters we haven't had any indication of time.
Yeah.
So, so Susan thought a prayer for Roland's safety. After half an hour of riding, Susan asked why they were riding north. Olive said that Seacoast Road was best. Susan began to object, and Olive cut her off, saying that when they find the house burning and Susan not there, they're going to go west along the Great Road. She cast an eye on Susan that was not much like dithering or slightly confabulated Olive that Hambry knew or thought they knew. So again, we're suddenly getting a different view of Olive here. The more and more we go, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
She went on saying that if she knew that is what Susan would do, then that they would know that as well. So we needed to avoid it, type thing. Susan said nothing. She was too confused to speak, but Olive seemed to know what she was talking about, and Susan was grateful for that. So my notes here: Maria stays behind, but I'm glad that Olive is going with Susan and Sheemie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would just feel a little bit more uneasy if they were just sending Susan and Sheemie off.
Mhm.
I don't know. Things just keep going wrong for us here. Like this whole story, this whole tail end, like every time it feels like we were getting like the upper hand, like something fucking flips on us. And I don't know. There's just, I remember even reading it the first time just being like, oh, good, she's going with them, because she does kind of feel like she's got some shit kind of figured out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember being happy that she's with us here.
Yeah, I worry for Maria, though. How is she going to explain Susan being gone to the guards or Coral? Like, the guards are going to know that she's the one that sent them away, and then Susan's gone when she was supposed to be watching the door. So it's like,
Yeah.
Maria should go too.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. Maybe she'll come up with a story about, Olive commanding her,
or
punching
someone
her, or something.
someone chased her off.
Something.
One of the
Yeah.
guys from upstairs came down and chased her off and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the ones who took Susan.
Yeah, could be. So our clock is ticking. It is now moving into afternoon, and we have two people nervous about the rise of Demon Moon.
Yeah, just when we thought we
So-
were done with ticking clocks.
Yeah, no, because we're
Because we were the whole book, this whole story, we're building up to Reaping Day, and then the day before Reaping Day, they got they got captured. And
Yeah.
so we're like, okay, we're done with ticking clocks. But now it's gotten to Reaping Day, and now it's just another clock.
and
it's ticking the whole time.
this entire day we've been just kind of counting the day down
Exactly.
as we went. So, yeah. So when it says that the sun is westerning, it's like, hey, that's the point where you're now crossing over, and it's in the west side. So you're talking afternoon.
Yep.
So, Olive's thought process is right. Stay off the Great Road because that's the most obvious route. So that's where they're going to probably focus their search. It also seems to me that Olive is far more keen and intrigued than she's allowed herself to be seen, and I love that. That's awesome.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I always love that in stories when like characters. I mean, Billy Summers comes to mind. Is very similar in the King realm of one that portrays himself much dumber than he actually is, because
Yeah.
like, let people underestimate you, man.
Mhm.
Like. So moving on, Olive said by the time they started sniffing west, it would be dark and they'd stay, they would stay in of the Sea Cliff Caves, 5 or so miles from here. She said that she had grown up as a fisherman's daughter, so she knew those caves better than anyone. The thought of the caves seemed to cheer her up. She went on saying that tomorrow they would cut west, and as Susan wanted to, and she would have a plump widow as a chaperone for a bit, and to get used to that idea. Susan said that she was too good, and she should send Sheemie and her off on their own. Olive asked to go back to what? She could not even get a few trail hands on kitchen duty to follow her orders. And then she goes on and says Fran Langell was in charge now, and she had no desire to see how he did the job, nor wait to see if he would call her mad and have her put in a room with bars on the windows, or did she want to see Hash Renfrew as mayor with his boots up on her tables and laughing? Those are all joyous thoughts.
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
we know that all of those names are no longer with us, but she certainly doesn't. Susan apologized. Olive brushed it off and said that she needed to get to the caves unseen, and it might have seemed like they vanished, and then it will have seemed like they vanished into thin air. So stopping here with some notes. Love that she is bringing them to a place she knows extremely well because of her childhood.
Smart. Go somewhere you're familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. Also, it's interesting that the mayor's wife and part of high society was a fisherman's daughter.
Yeah, it's
That's-
kind of interesting looking at Magus, but you have to realize that they're all made up of fishermen and ranchers. Like,
Yeah.
there is not exactly like a third high society. I mean, let's remember that the mayor is elected.
Yeah.
So he's he's elected, but he's not exactly.
But remember, they have like their crypts and stuff. So
Gilead,
I think the family is like. I'm not saying he was like given the
Right.
role, but his family is like well to do in the town. Like they're well respected and stuff.
Yeah.
So like the fact that just this lowly fisherman's daughter is the one that eventually married him.
Yeah.
Is kind of interesting. And because we haven't really gotten a sense up to this point that the fishermen have any kind of like, we've not seen any like prestigious fishermen, like the ranchers that own a lot of land. The horses, those are the kind of the big guns in the town. The fishermen that we've never seen them look at anything other than very humble. So it just seems like she kind of came from nothing and she's kind of worked her way up through society.
I think what you would have is, I would say that there's two classes basically in mages. Is you have the fisher folk, which is the lower class, and then you have the higher class, which is the ranchers, because the ranchers have ties to Gilead. The Horsemen's Association, all of that is directly connected to Gilead.
Yeah.
The fishermen are local.
You're just feeding the society. Like it's important to the town, but that's not as important to like the larger You're not feeding Gilead with those fish.
Exactly.
Those fish. You're just feeding Hambry.
No, you're right there. Maybe just a little bit outside. A little bit of trade outside, but you're not getting all the way back to Gilead.
Now, do you think the trail hands and stuff, the little bit more like blue collar, do you think they're lower or higher than the fishermen, or on the same level? Because you said like you think fishermen are like the lower class, like whatever, like working class. So would you say that like the just the average dude actually working at the ranch? Do you think that like where do you think that lines up? I know we don't have any text on it, but I'm just curious. Like
I think that the highest fishermen, like the ones that have the most boats, like I could picture a captain who has like a fleet of like 5 boats. I pictured that's who Olive's dad was. He's the highest. I think he's just barely above those ranch hands.
Yeah.
Just barely, because he is the head fisherman. There's those 3 or 4 fishermen that have fleets versus they're going out on their own small skiff and catching what they can in their nets.
Yeah.
They're sending people out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is what I picture.
Bubba Gump Shrimp.
Exactly. Got a fleet of boats to go shrimping.
I also love Olive here. Her answers to Susan saying that she should just let them go on alone. Her response to that is just great, because it's showing her intelligence. Like she thought all this through. It's like, I have nothing left now. This is like everything that I had is now gone. All that's washed off the board. Like, I'll be lucky if I don't get put in a fucking padded room, because they're going to write me off as crazy just to just to shoo me away.
They're going to remove me in some way, and that's probably going to be the nicest way that they do it. They could do it a lot other mean ways, and that's kind of my note here is that it really is smart of her to recognize that she's done in mages.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. So she turned in her saddle to Sheemie and told him that it was time for him to mount the mule and ride back to Seafront. And if there were any riders on their tail, they needed to turn them away with some well-chosen words. He responded he had no well-chosen words, and he barely had any words at all. She told him nonsense and kissed his forehead and told him to go back at a good trot. And if he saw no one by the time the sun touched the hills, he could turn back and return to them, and they'd wait by the signpost, and asked if he knew what she meant. He thought he did, the point that marked the northernmost part of the barony. He asked if it was the red one with the sombrero on it and an arrow pointing back to town. Olive agreed and said that he would not make it back that far before it was dark, but there would be plenty of moonlight, and if he did not come right away, they'd wait for him, but he had to get anyone following them to go another direction. And she asked if he understood. He did. He got down off her horse and onto Cappy, and before he left, Susan told him to come to her, and he did, and she kissed him, but not on the forehead, but on the mouth. Sheemie came close to fainting. She thanked him for everything. He spoke, but could only muster a whisper, and said that it was only Caw, and that he loved her and told her to go well, and he would see her soon. She said she looked forward to it, and then I've got a direct quote, because I feel like we just always do this on the tail end of the chapters, but direct quote from the book. But there was no soon, and no later for them. No later for them either. Sheemie took one look back as he rode his mule south and waved. Susan lifted her own hand in return, and it was the last Sheemie ever saw of her, and in many ways that was a blessing.
Damn, King.
Oh man, and my first note, oof, King once again with one of those lines. It portends bad things in general to start, but that last bit is very, very ominous.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So and then my next note, back to the top of this chunk. Olive very smart to send Sheemie to throw off any tails they had. Again, I think Olive's definitely the MVP of this episode.
Right.
I know we're not done yet, but like she's coming in fucking clutch here, man. For a relatively minor character throughout this novel, she's become kind of a really big part in this tail end here. So I'm gonna give the MVP to her personally.
Yeah, she's got my vote.
And then Susan giving Sheemie a kiss and thanking him for all of his help through this entire story, and with King's lining knowing this is the last he would ever see of her as well. So that we know this is gonna stick with Sheemie, right? Like that I don't know. So that
last time I saw her kind of thing.
Yeah.
I never thought about this until this subchapter, but this is one thing that King does that can never really translate to the screen. It's the lines where he says, like Sheemie here, like the last time he ever saw her.
Yeah.
You can't put that in on the screen,
No.
whether TV or film. There's no way.
Not unless you do a narrator, and narrators are so hard to do.
They are.
But,
I just never realized that there is a lot of we talked about it earlier. King does this all the time.
Yeah.
And that is one aspect of his writing that you can never really translate to screen.
You could do the Han Solo thing, when he's looking at the Falcon. Come on, what are you doing? I just have a feeling I'm never going to see her again.
Yeah.
You could like transplant it onto a person and make them have a feeling, but that's always going to be more of a, well, you don't really know.
It's a hunch.
Exactly. So you're right. That's definitely something that doesn't really translate well to screen. So
just never thought about it until now that is one of the things that King does, and he does it so well too. He does little offhand ones. He hides ones in great big important subchapters. He's given all this exposition explaining the world, and Roland never saw that person alive again.
Yeah.
And then he just keeps going. It's like, well, wait a minute, what? Kind
Yeah.
of thing. I've done that a couple times in these books.
yeah.
These first 4 books. It's like, wait, King just slips that in there, just trying to get it past us. You know,
It is the classic King move.
exactly.
For sure. Indeed.
All right, so we're moving into subchapter 12 here. Latigo had set pickets a mile from Hanging Rock, but the blonde boy they encountered, Roland, Alain, and Cuthbert, obviously, looked confused and unsure of himself and no danger to anyone. He had scurvy blossoms around his mouth and nose, suggesting the men Farson had sent had rode hard and fast with little in the way of fresh supplies. Cuthbert gave the good man's sigil, hands clasped to the chest left above the right. Then both held out to the person being greeted. The blonde did the same with a grateful smile and asked, What's been and rary back there? To Roland, he sounded like a Nordite. The boys who killed a couple big guns and hide for the hills, Cuthbert said. He was an eerily good mimic and gave the same accent back to the boy and went on. There was a fight, but it's over now, and they did fight fearfully. What? Started the boy, but Roland cut across and saying they had no time and they have dispatches, and Heil Farson. Good man, the boy cried. He looked like he wanted to ask Cuthbert where he was from, but instead gave them a salute and let them pass inside the perimeter. As easy as that.
So I guess we were wrong. It wasn't going to be harder. Like I remember when they were like, lined out and stuff. It was like, oh my God, this is a little bit more fortified. This isn't going to be as easy as sneaking up on a group of people. But here we are sneaking in.
Yeah, I mean, this is a mile away from the actual tankers, so let's remember that.
That's true.
Yeah.
My note, they rode hard and fast with little supplies, so that could actually be an advantage to our boys.
Tired soldiers.
Yeah.
You got to get to the battle rested and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
Ancient times, they used to do that. Hardcore History just had an episode about Alexander where they would get to the battle. They would choose a place for the battle, and they'd be like, okay, great. Set up camp, sleep, rest, eat, drink, be merry, and then fight.
Yeah.
They wouldn't get there and be like, okay, this is where we're going to fight. Let's do it. Go right into it. They would rest first.
Yeah.
Same thing here. Like, these guys haven't been there for very long, and obviously they're still suffering. They got scurvy. God, no. If you've never looked up scurvy and what it does to the human body,
do unsave Google image search.
No, don't do that. Don't.
Yes.
See, Tad, #Tad is terrible. That is bad advice, Tad. I need a bad advice button.
Hey, I didn't say, go Google deglovings.
Oh,
let's save search off.
That's a Flanagan special.
Yes, indeed.
My only note here, Cuthbert has so many talents, he would make a great spy. I say this because I watched a Bond movie yesterday, so it's just like, having the ability to mimic accents
there is a danger to that, though.
Yeah, they could easily find you out by asking you a couple questions.
And that's almost happened here.
But Roland saved his bacon.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a double-edged sword.
It is. You're right.
Or you mimic in a certain way, but like you don't mimic it exactly right. So now you suddenly, because I've seen that too, where like people learn a language of like an enemy, whatever, but like they don't really have a decent accent, so it like flags them as like you're not like a native speaker, like type thing. So
see, that's what I'm saying is like Cuthbert's able to mimic accents. So that's what gets him. And also, let's be perfectly honest. If Cuthbert's going to be able to BS his way through anything, he'd be able to get past a little sentry, right? Like,
maybe
he'd be so good at talking out of his ass.
Yeah, probably.
Distracting them and then smacking them with the other hand kind of thing. All right, so going on. Roland says to remember, this is a hit and run. Don't slow down for anything. And if they miss anything, it must be left. There will be no second pass. Cuthbert says, gods, don't even suggest such a thing. But he was smiling and he pulled his slingshot out and was testing the pole on it. He licked his thumb and held it up to test the wind. It was strong at their backs. Alain unslung the machine gun and looked at it doubtfully and yanked back the slide cock. He said he didn't know about it. It is loaded and he sees how to use it, but then Roland cuts across him and says, then use it. They were picking up speed. This is the work it was meant for. If it jams, drop it and use your revolver. Are you ready? Yes. Roland, Alain says. Bert? Aye, Cuthbert. Aye, Cuthbert says in a wildly exaggerated Hambry accent. So I am, so I am. Ahead of them, dust puffed from a group that was preparing the tankers for departure. So, just in time.
Yeah.
Men on foot looked at them with curiosity, but with a fatal lack of alarm. Roland drew both revolvers and cried, Gilead! Heil, Gilead! He spurred Rusher to a gallop, and the two others did the same. Cuthbert in the middle again, sitting on his rein, slingshot in hand, and Lucifer matches radiating out of his tightly pressed lips. The gunslingers rode down on hanging rock like furies.
What a place to stop here. Huh?
I know, right? Like, oh yeah, I guess I should say that's the end of the subchapter.
Yeah. So my note here: hit and run and no second pass. That's a good way to ratchet up the tension. We get one shot here.
One shot.
There's no circling back. There's no whatever. It's not at the end of A New Hope where you've got however many passes you need to. There.
How many different threes you can send in trying to do the trench run?
No.
Because what do they end up sending? Like 3? I think they send Gold Squadron, Red Squadron, Red Squadron, right? 3 times they try it. The third tries the charm.
Yeah.
There is no third try on this one. You get one shot.
Yeah.
One opportunity.
Yeah. As Eminem would say.
Exactly. Mom's spaghetti.
All right.
Okay, yeah, that's right. It's my note. What kind of machine gun do you picture this is? I don't remember them giving too much detail on what it looks like. But I have a thing in my head. I wanted to see what you said.
For me, like I would picture like those early, not early, but like early machine guns in the sense of like World War II, like like not a belt fed like mounted, but like those early machine guns that they actually had in World War II. I'm not picturing anything super advanced or anything like crazy.
Not like a AR-15.
No, or an AK.
Like
nothing.
Nothing
like one of those. Like it still kind of looks like a deer rifle in the sense of like it has like wood stock and like it still looks like maybe something from the early part of World War II, but it's actually like made to be fully automatic. But like that's kind of what I'm picturing. Just very like of two worlds.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like that kind of fits in this. Like whereas like an AK-47 or something like that wouldn't work for me.
I have a very similar but also slightly different view in my head. I have the German, like I think it's the MP40 or MP44, something like that, where it's all metal because there's a line later on that
about the stock.
The stock is rusted.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So that makes me think.
And I'm not saying
like
and I'm
metal.
not saying like I'm picturing entirely wood and wood stock. I'm just saying like that's the vibe I'm getting is like again one of those ones where like a modern day person would look at that and go, "You're calling that a machine gun?"
Yes.
Like
not and I'm not picturing one that would be like a 2-person like you said, the belt fed ones.
Yeah, nothing.
I'm picturing like the individual soldiers had and everything like that. I just Googled it. The MP40 is exactly what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to see what I'm picturing is German MP40 is what it's. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that German. Nope. We're not doing that.
Sorry,
today.
that's why we initialize everything with Germans.
Yes,
we're not gonna pronounce any of their nonsense. They're clown of a language.
I apologize to all of our German listeners.
It is a crazy language, sir.
It is a crazy language, but it's not a clown language.
Hey, ours is the clownest of all clown languages.
is true.
American English, like there.
Makes no sense.
I think I saw one like where somebody said it's like 3 languages wearing a trench coat pretending to be one.
Pretending to be a language, yeah.
Yeah, like that's so I'm not.
I think you said that to me.
I'm not saying this from a realm of like I have the higher ground. No, our language is far worse. But,
Far worse.
But there's every time like I hear like, oh, you know the Germans have a word for this, and then they tell you the word and what it means. It's like, what the fuck is that language? I respect it. There's some words they have that are, we should have in English. Like what's where you like take pleasure in someone's downfall?
Oh yeah.
Like they have a word for that, and it's just like we all have that experience at some points in our lives. The fact that we don't have a word for it's kind of stupid, and they do. So again, definitely no disrespect. It is a silly language.
I do love the literal terms they have for some of them. Like what is it? Turtle means like armored lizard or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean by clown language. Like when you go, there's like a whole like infographic out there of like all the like names for German, like the names that Germans give to animals, and they're all so like just on the nose. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Again, I say it lovingly.
So my last note here for this subchapter, because again it's over. Here we go. I like that King calls them all gunslingers at the end. Not a gunslinger and his 2 friends, not 2 apprentices, not 3 apprentices. They're all 3 full gunslingers.
1 and 2.5 gunslingers.
Yeah, no. 2.5 gunslingers. The new comedy coming on ABC.
Yeah, indeed. And then what would Court think?
Man.
He sends away 1 gunslinger and 2 students, and this is what's going to come back. I mean, if they come back, but that's it's an interesting thought.
We
for
know
sure.
one of them survives.
Yeah, yeah. But does he ever get back home though?
Oh, that's a fair point.
We brought that up before, where it's like we keep making some of these assumptions, and it's like we shouldn't assume anything. Like he may never see home or anything again. This might be the road that then leads to Toll and everything else. We don't know. So subchapter 13. 20 minutes after Sheemie was sent south, Susan and Olive came around a sharp bend and ran into 3 mounted men on the road. In the late slanting sun, she saw the one in the middle had blue coffin tattooed on his hand. It was Reynolds, and Susan's heart sank. And my note, fuck.
My note. Of all people to run into on the road.
We should have thought of it, though. He's been off the board. We haven't seen anything about
where's
him.
he been?
So
he got back to Seafront, and he's like, "Okay, here she is. I'm going to go have myself a little poke." Like kind of thing is what he thought.
So like,
and we haven't seen him since then. That was this morning.
Yeah, whenever movies do that, it's the same thing. Movies or shows, when there's someone that you haven't seen for too long, they're coming back at some point, and then the worst possible time if it's a villain. Yep. So she did not know the one on the left of Reynolds, but the one on the other side was Laszlo Reimer, and it was Reimer that Reynolds looked at after smiling at Susan. Reynolds said that they were not even able to get a drink to honor Kimba Reimer before getting persuaded out here, and he was going to go, and he wasn't going to go, but that old lady was something. Could talk a corpse into giving a blowjob. So that's a fun image there. He then told Susan that her aunt had lost a wheel or 2 off her cart and thought she was going to was going to say more before Susan cut him off, telling him that his friends were dead. He paused and shrugged and said maybe or maybe not, and he had decided to travel on without them even if they were alive. But he said that he would stick around one more night because he heard reaping on the outers was worth seeing, especially the bonfire. The unknown man laughed. Olive told them to let them pass, and neither of them had done anything. Reimer said that she had helped the boys escape, the ones who murdered her own husband and his brother. Olive said that the clearing might cleanse Reimer, but he had looted half the town's treasury, and what he didn't give to Farson, he kept for himself. The other Reimer we got here recoiled as if slapped. She said he did not know she knew, and that she would be mad at how little any of them thought about her if she cared at all what any of them thought about her. But he told her to shut up, and she continued on saying it was likely that he was the one who cut her brother's black heart open, talking about Reynolds. And Reynolds had been seen in that wing that morning. He yelled at her to shut up again. She continued on a bit before Reynolds said to listen to him as the good humor left his face. Susan thought that he did not like people knowing what he did, not even when they couldn't hurt him. She thought he was less without Jonas and a lot less, and he knows it. So that's kind of an interesting
That
thing.
last line is actually kind of powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, and Jesus Christ, a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So Laszlo Reimer, the brother of Kimba, I'm not sure we've ever seen him before now.
Nope.
This is a first time appearance. I don't even know if we've ever had a reference to another Reimer.
I don't think so.
But what a person to have in this whole
Absolutely,
mix here.
yeah.
So,
And how he reacts to her telling him about his brother's crimes,
David,
makes me think he was in on it too.
what's that?
How he reacts to her telling him about his brother's crimes, like reacting so vehemently, makes me think that he was in on it.
100%. I mean, there's no way the family's not going to benefit from everything he was doing, right?
Yeah.
So, David, Reynolds does not want to be outed. Wink, wink.
I forgot about that.
Oh, David, bullying Reynolds. He's been doing it for episodes.
Yes.
Now. I love it. And then fucking Rhea is to blame. Said that
She's the one that got them out there.
Yeah. And then Olive is a fucking badass, but she is pushing her luck here.
She is. There's 3 of them.
Yeah, there's 3 of them, and Reynolds is he's not a good dude. So maybe not as dangerous as Jonas or anything, but still he's not a good person. Olive said to let them pass. Reynolds said that they couldn't do that. She said that she would help them then, and drew a massive pistola with ivory yellow handles and a tarnished silver barrel. On top was a brass powder and spark. And she had no business drawing this thing. It caught on her serape, and she had to fight to free it. She had no business cocking it, which took her both thumbs and a few tries. But the 3 men were flummoxed by the sight of the elderly blunderbuss. Reynolds most of all, who sat on his horse slack-jawed. Jonas would have wept, and I love that. That's I didn't take a note of that, but I love that line, because there's been a few times we saw Jonas react to just the absolute stupidity of the other 2 coffin hunters.
I mean, is it DePape that he punches for starting the stuff at the Traveler's Rest?
Yeah, for sure.
So
he. Yeah.
God, they're dumb.
Yeah, indeed. Tweedledee and Tweedledum. An old voice shrieked to get her from behind the men. Reynolds finally went for his gun, but Olive had too much of a head start. She pulled the trigger. The spark flashed, but the damp powder only made a flop sound and then disappeared in a puff of blue smoke. The ball that had been big enough to take off Reynolds' head stayed in the barrel. Her horse reared as Reynolds shot, sending her flying, but she had a hole in her heart. Susan screamed, but it sounded far away, even in her own ears. And then my note here, this is probably the better way it could have gone for Olive. I remember the first time expecting it to explode in her hand when she tried to fire it and blow her face off. Anytime King has old guns, I'm very suspicious. And I don't know. Usually with King, they don't just malfunction with just a click. Usually there's some god-awful, horrific malfunction. So,
like in this story, what's the Andolini, where the gun goes off in his hand and he goes wandering down the beach?
Oh, yeah.
And then the lobstrosities take him. It's like,
yeah.
And no, I know it's not an old gun, but when a gun malfunctions in King's world, that's what happens.
It's usually pretty bad. So
I mean, that's what happens when guns explode in your hands.
Yes,
so.
no, it's definitely not a fun thing at all. But for Olive, I definitely don't want to see her die. But of the ways to go, this is probably the better than seeing that thing blow up and take off half her face and a good chunk of her hand and arm.
Yeah,
so.
We also got to talk about the fact that she brought out a blunderbuss, which is 1 shot. And there's 3 men.
Yeah.
So it's basically a suicide move here. She knows that there's nothing else to do, so she's going to try and take Reynolds with her.
Yeah, and he's probably the most dangerous, right?
Right.
We don't even know if the other 2 have guns. So
we don't even know anything else about the 3rd person, do we?
No.
Is it a flag?
No, he seems like an idiot the way the chapter's written here. He seems like he's kind of giggling and goofing.
I'm hearing flag descriptions here, That's
careful, sir.
Chittery little chipmunk laughing, his tittering stupid laugh.
Oh.
If it had said tittering, I would have been like 100%.
That would have changed the conversation. But then he wouldn't be all goofy. This guy just seems like an inbred nonsense type person. And then my last note, R.I.P. Olive, she was a real one.
Yeah.
And then moving on here, she heard the pony hooves coming from behind the men, and before the unknown man moved to show her, she knew, and she stopped screaming. The black cart with the gold writing on it, and Rhea was sitting in it with her reins in her clawed hands. She was grinning at Susan like a corpse. She said, "Hello, my little sweeting," which is what she had called her all those months ago on that terrible night. Rhea told her that her pallies and screw buddies had taken her ball. I also want to point out there that it's screw buddies, so that's kind of an interesting little tweak to throw at her there, because she's not sleeping with all 3 of the boys, just the one. And then she called them bad boys. She said it showed her much when she had it, including a lot that she forgot, but she did not forget that it showed her which way Susan would come and which way the dead woman which way the dead woman laying in front of them would lead her. So going back to
Olive.
what we just
Yeah.
learned earlier, that because that's the other thing, I guess we kind of breeze past that. We haven't really seen the ball show us the future before, like, this tail end very much. Like when Rhea had it, she was seeing a lot of like stuff that was going on at the time and stuff.
Right.
And so like when Roland was talking, it's like, no, that's weird. I was seeing shit in the future and like whatever. So like
Yeah.
I meant to say it back then, but I forgot that it's like, that was a new wrinkle that suddenly it's going to show you the future. And because I meant to say, like, I remember when I read it the first time, I'm like, did
Wait, so
Rhea might know shit about, yeah, it just,
wait, what?
yeah. And King did a
But
good job of
also-
kind of like disguising that because he
Yeah.
never gave us a clue of that until pretty much right in this episode.
Yeah.
So,
But apparently the pink ball didn't even want to show Rhea too much of the future because it didn't show how she lost it
yeah, that's true.
because it wanted to be taken.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's true. Very Lord of the Rings ish.
Mhm.
She told Susan that she had to go to town. It was time for the fair, which that's not ominous at all. Susan told her to let her go, and if she didn't, she'd answer to Roland of Gilead. Rhea ignored her and told Reynolds to bind her hands and stand her in the back of the cart, and there would be people who would want to see her. They would want a good look, and she'd give them a good look. And if her aunt had done the proper job, there would be a lot of them in town. So that is the end of the subchapter. And my first note, ugh. Just, I mean, what more can you say here? So the ball showed the plan to Rhea. Again, we've never really noted that it showed the future until, like, in this episode, Roland kind of clued us into it.
Yeah.
So, but I think even King did it there. We're so like fixated on the Dark Tower stuff. I feel like it's easy to miss
Well, I missed it.
the fact that it's
I
like
did.
it shows the
Yeah.
future. Wait a minute, what could that mean? Because that's not
Didn't
good.
even think about it.
King's very good at that whole sleight of hand thing, and he just
Look here, smack.
yeah, he just sleight of handed us for sure. Yeah. So and then my next note, and Cordelia is heavily involved here as well. So let's not forget that.
Yeah, and what Rhea said about people wanting to look at her, and there should be a lot of them if Cordelia did her job. We know the state of the townspeople, and it is not good.
It's a powder keg.
Last episode, we talked about how they're all sitting around at the Traveler's Rest and the other places drinking. And Sheb tried to bring up a thing, and someone put a knife to his ear and said, "Keep going, and I'll fucking kill you."
Yeah, it reminds me of
So-
The Simpsons, or the one where Who Shot Mr. Burns, and like someone's talking at like the town hall, and they're all like a bunch of people like stroking guns.
Yeah.
And somebody comes and whispers to him, he's like, "Oh, I've been told that a number of you are stroking guns right now." So he's like stops talking, and like that's the way
Yeah.
I mean, maybe less funny, but that's the way Magus is feeling.
No,
right
it
now.
is not in a good state of mind. And I know people have experienced this in real life where things have happened in their community and then the whole community is just like on edge.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this an episode or two ago where it feels like some of those tensions in like Los Angeles when the Night Stalker was going or Bundy in the Pacific Northwest. It's just like they're so on edge, but because it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And now they're getting riled up by Cordelia,
Yeah.
who doesn't like Susan, who was just captured by these
And
people.
who both agreed that they were going to put an end to Susan.
Yeah. Like,
So.
this is not good.
No.
All right, so subchapter 14. Lan had time for one clear thought. They could have gone around them. If Roland was right, the only thing that mattered was the wizard's glass. Except, of course, that was impossible. 100 generations of gunslinger blood argued against it. Tower or no tower, the thieves must not be allowed to have their prize. Not if they could be stopped. Alain leaned forward to whisper in his mount's ear, "Jig or rear when I start shooting and I'll knock your fucking brains out." Roland led them in outracing the other two on his stronger horse. So he pulls ahead a little bit.
I played Red Dead enough to know what that feels like.
Yeah. To be ahead.
No, to have the fucking horse where you're like, you motherfucker.
I will kill you.
And, back before I ever got the White Arabian, in previous games, I have put an end to certain horses that I had that,
Damn.
that wronged me.
Brutal.
So, I love the frontier justice mentality of the gunslingers, according to his thought here. I think it's just a cool wrinkle because we've dealt with this whole like Arthurian, Arthur Eld, all this kind of
Noble.
stuff. Noble, knightly, all this kind of stuff. So to add it, like to re-wrinkle in like some more Western, to like there's like this frontier justice of like just it's inbred in gunslingers that thieves can't be allowed to get away with their booty.
No. And then my note here, damn, Alain, I get it, but still, damn, that's your horse, like. So going on, the nearest clot of men had 5 or 6 mounted and a dozen more on foot, examining a pair of oxen which had dragged the tankers out there, where they were looking at them stupidly when they started to fire. Then they scattered like quail. Roland got all of the riders and their horses now fled, trailing their reins, and in one case a dead rider. Somewhere someone was shouting, "Harriers! Harriers! Mount up, you fools!" "Roland!" called Alain. In front of the tankers, a double handful of riders and armed men were coming together, more like milling together in a clumsy defense line. "Now, now!" Roland yelled. Alain raised the machine gun, seated its rusty stock in the hollow of his shoulder, and remembered what he had been taught. Aim low, swing fast and smooth. He touched the trigger, and the speed shooter bellowed into the dusty air, recoiling against his shoulder in a series of thuds. Fire spouted from the barrel. Alain ranked it back and forth, left and right, across the defenders and the side of the tankers. The third tanker he shot at actually blew up on its own. The sound it made was like no explosion Alain had ever heard. Guttural, muscular, ripping sound accompanied a flashing brilliant orange-red fire. The steel rose in two halves. One half spun 30 yards through the air and landed on the desert floor in a furious, burning hulk. The other went spinning up and came slamming back down, trailing sparks, and a wooden wheel went spinning out across the sky like a plate.
Just like the first group, they caught them by surprise. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. I also love that a bunch are marveling at the oxen.
I mean, even the boys from Gilead had never seen oxen, so imagine these other boys who are not from Gilead.
Yeah, so that's just kind of a fun world-building thing there. So,
and then my note, it is kicked off. I would love to see the half a tanker smash some bad guys, please. Just like when it flies up, just squish 3 guys.
Yeah, that I'll take it.
Yeah. So going on, men fled screaming, and the ones mounted rode hard, laid flat against the necks of their nags, their eyes wide and panicky. When Alain reached the end of the line of the tankers, he reversed the track of the muzzle. The machine gun was hot in his hands, but he kept his finger on the trigger pressed down. In this world, you used what you could while it still worked. Beneath him, his horse ran on as if it understood what Alain had whispered in its ear. Alain thought, "Another! I want another." But before he could rank another tanker, the gun ceased chattering. Perhaps jammed, but most likely empty. He threw it aside and drew his revolver. From beside him, he heard the thump of Cuthbert's slingshot, even over the din of the battle. Alain saw the sputtering Big Bang arc into the sky and land where Bert aimed it, a pool of oil around the wooden wheels of a tanker marked Sunico. Alain could clearly see the 9 or dozen holes he had put in the side of the tanker with the speed shooter, and then there was a crack and a flash as the Big Banger exploded. A moment later, the holes running along the side began to shimmer. The oil had caught fire. "Get out," a man in a faded campaign hat yelled. "She going ter blow. They're all going to He was cut off there as Alain shot him in the head, exploding the side of his face and knocking him out of one of his boots as he spun to the ground. A moment later, the second tanker blew. A burning panel flew off and landed in the glowing puddle of the third tanker, and that one also exploded. Black smoke rose in the air like fumes of a funeral pyre. It darkened the day and drew an oily veil across the sun.
Gotta love it. Good horse, Alain's.
Yes,
it didn't betray.
It did its job.
I love that he's not sure if the gun was jammed or empty. Because again, they would have been trained on revolvers, so like, it is kind of an anachronism where it's like it's beyond their expertise, So it's just like, I love that he isn't entirely sure. Whereas us, like, we live in a world where we would kind of know the difference between jam or empty. Like that's
we would think so, but also at the same time, I wonder if it's because he didn't even look at it. Like he knew, like the line says, you use what you have while it works
for sure.
So I think that he's using it, and then as soon as it stops, it's not even going to be like a glance at it. It's going to be pull out the revolver and start shooting, kind of thing. So
yeah,
I think it's like what you're saying, but also at the same time, I think it's just that he's just like, I'm not even going to give it the time of day. Like it doesn't.
But I'm not sure if he'd be able to clear it or not, because again, it's just not a familiar weapon.
No,
system,
it would take a little bit of time, which is I think it's so smart of Roland and Alain listening to Roland. As soon as it jams or it's empty, just fucking get rid of it. Don't even waste your time with it. Get your revolver out and start shooting.
Yeah, because
he is much more proficient with that.
Yeah.
And then my 2 notes here. This is going to be such a cool scene when this gets made. This is going to be amazing to see. And then my last note, and this is the end of the subchapter and the end of the stuff we're covering today.
Yeah,
I love that we get this from Alain's perspective. Also, not much Roland in this fight so far. He shot a couple, told Alain to start shooting. That's all we get. It's mostly Alain and then some Cuthbert.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at in this battle so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much out of time though. I know we had some spoiler stuff.
I need to cover one thing, so do throw the spoiler up real fast because I got to answer your question from earlier.
Warning, spoilers ahead. Warning, spoilers ahead. Warning, spoilers ahead.
So I forget exactly how you worded it. It is our spoiler section,
Yeah,
so cry off if you haven't read the rest of
for the couple
series.
minutes we got. Yeah.
You were asking if that was the nexus of Roland, and that was 100%. He's he's on the path of being the Terminator and everything like that. I still think that the death of Susan has a large part of it because of the way that he reacts when he realizes that,
or his mom. I mean,
that he was
and again,
blind.
I think this is the start of it. I'm not saying that he's like
Right.
immediately to Terminator right away.
Yeah, you did say that later.
I think we're just starting the journey, and of course, these next couple things are going to compound on top of that,
Yeah.
and help us create the role. But I do think that like the start, that Genesis, if you would have asked me before this book club series, I would have said the Genesis was Susan or his mom. I wouldn't have even thought about this as like, again, kind of like you said earlier, you would have got it wrong if you would have if we would have asked like, where does the journey actually begin?
Where does he decide where does he decide the tower?
Yeah. So
over everything else, where does he decide the tower? I would have gotten it wrong. I think the reason why I say no is that I question whether or not Roland is 100% committed because of the way he's acting, and we got more in the later part of that subchapter after you asked the question. He's crying, he's shaking, he's still kind of dealing with the decision that he's made.
yeah.
And so I don't know if he is 100% committed. He might be 90, maybe even 95% committed, but he is not 100% committed yet. I think the death of Susan and Ch10 is what makes him 100% committed to the tower, because when he gets back to Gilead, he's in. He knows that it's a temporary stop. He knows that he's going onto the tower.
And I could see that, but I don't know, man. I even the way he's talking here in this part, I'm like, he said like like he basically says about Susan, we're done.
Yeah.
Like my like our caw is the tower, not hers.
Yeah.
And she's not my caw. Farson's on our call. Like, so I think that, again, I know there's some more solidifying to happen. We're not fully to dusty, grizzled fucking Terminator Roland yet that's in tall, but we are well on. We have started that path now. If there was a Y branch in this
It's
this
down.
RPG, we've taken the turn now.
I just wonder if there's a little part of him that hopes that he can go back and turn and go down the other branch. I wonder that because of the way he's like shaking and crying and stuff like that. That's the only reason, because if he was...
Plus, you're a cockeyed optimist.
I am.
All right, well, let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff real quick. If you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcasting service of your choice. You can stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or Audible. You can join us for the live streams at youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Be looking for some shorts in the next probably couple days maybe for our nominations for the March Insanity. Be looking for we'll have the bracket on our next episode. We'll have the whole full thing revealed. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, so if we ever move any episodes, you'll also be made aware. Show notes are at darktowerpalaver.com. Links for all things Dark Tower Palaver are there. If you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And if you want to contact us, Peter can let you know the ways to do that.
Get those nominations in for March Insanity. It's show@darktowerpalaver.com. That's our email. And then follow us on our social media. We got Threads and Instagram, Dark Tower Palaver. Blue Sky is at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then our Twitter, at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. And then also facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver.
Yes, indeed. And we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
Boy.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you all for joining us. Thanks for being part of the conversation. You guys are awesome. And we'll be back in a fortnight for our next roundtable. We'll unveil the bracket and see what's been going on in the King universe. We'll see you then.
Bye, everyone.